Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. I think some of you have already joined us. Let us see who is here today. Good morning, guys. Welcome to our Friday weekly Ask Me Any Stock Singapore stocks today. If you guys can see and hear me loud and clear, this type of GM for good morning, let me just acknowledge all of you. I think some of you are already typing in the stocks. Let's see who is here joining us today. Hi, good morning. Hi, Ho LS. Hi, good to see you as well. Okay, let's see. Good morning. Good morning. Hi, VJ. Good morning as well. Okay, good. Very good to see you here as well, Shari. Andy, good morning. Selston, Catherine, Stephen, good morning. Welcome, guys. Welcome. All right, welcome. It seems like this is working, so let's get started. Good morning, Helen. So a lot of you are typing in the stocks that you guys are, wanting to be analyzed later. Not to worry. Later we'll try to go through them as quickly as possible. Hi, good morning as well. Okay, so welcome, guys. Welcome to our Friday weekly AMAS edition session, whereby we pretty much cover the stocks that you guys are asking about. So today we'll be back to the Singapore market. So every Friday, guys, we cover either the US or the Singapore market. So last Friday was US, all right, and today we'll be back to Singapore. All right, so very quickly we'll do a quick market outlook. Then we'll go ahead to cover the stocks that you guys want. All right, so I think some of you already typed in the chat, so we'll just go through very quickly, and then at the end, me and Z, all right, will share not too new, but pretty much two Singapore stocks that is in our watch list, whereby there are some bullish signals that have came out that could potentially be even more upside, and you want to watch this stock as well, right? So let's go ahead to get started. Okay. So today Bervin is not with us because Bervin is currently on national service doing his reservists every Friday. He'll be probably joining us in a couple of weeks' time. But I have my team here with me, Z. So for those of you who are just joining us, welcome to our Ask Me Any Stocks live session. My name is Joey Choi. I've been doing this for more than a year, for more than a decade now, right? Pretty much focusing on stocks, right? Singapore stocks, US stocks, Hong Kong stocks. So anything to do with stocks, that's where in a matter of seconds, I can pull out my one good trend strategy and get an opinion whether to buy or to sell or to wait, right? And pretty much, one of the, pretty much, that's the one good trend strategy that I have. And later we'll be going and diving in a little bit more into it, all right, regarding analyzing your stocks and on the one good trend strategy and how we have a tool, I call it the one good trend pro indicator to analyze your stocks. Okay, yeah, so I've with me Z as well over here. So Z is one of the top brokers under me in Philips Securities as well. Kind of like assisting me in terms of our group coaching sessions, our one-on-one sessions, our mentees, and also assisting our team's portfolio manager with our managed account service as well. So Z, maybe you can share a few words today.
All right, thanks, Joey. Hi, everyone. My name is Z. Thanks, Joey, for the introduction. So, yes, I've been with Joey's team for close to, I think, 5 years now, specializing in technical analysis, right? And my goal here is, to always to make things and break things down to as simple as possible. And that you can actually do that, right, with actually the one good trend pro indicator, which we will actually use later on because, I don't like to overcomplicate things because if there's too many things on the chart, you don't really know what to focus on, and that could be like a mess, right? So yeah, like what Joey has mentioned, Bervin is actually currently on reservice, so probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks until National Day, you will probably see me and Joey over here every Friday on AMAS, and I managed to see a lot of familiar names. I hope to see you guys again in the next few weeks. So yeah, with that, I'll pass the time back over to Joey, right, to actually kick off today's session.
Thank you so much, Z. All right, so very good. Yeah, so today is just me and Z. So very simple, guys. We'll do a quick market outlook, and then I'll cover the stocks, and I'll pass on the mic to Z, and she'll pass it on back to me, and I just back and forth. We'll try to cover as many stocks as possible, right? Singapore stocks. So let's get started. All right, let's get started. Just a quick disclaimer: whatever that's being shared today, right, it's just for education purpose only, right? The standard disclaimer that we share, right? It's not really to ask you to buy or sell anything, right? Just to give you guys a bit of an opinion based on my strategy, my system that I've been using for more than a decade now, all right? And hopefully you have a better idea on what to do on your stock. So please do your own due diligence, right? A little bit of homework as well, all right? Not really to buy or sell, all right? But just to give you guys a bit of an idea, all right? Okay, so let's get started. Let me go ahead to pull out what we call the S&P 500 index that, we always find the time to just go through what has been happening in the market. How many of you want me to just go through the market, this type of type M for market, guys? If you want me to go through the markets, right, let me know. Type M for markets, right? Let me know, guys, if you want me to just go through the markets, all right? Or maybe you can just skip this if a lot of people are not really interested in like a quick market outlook. Let me know, right? Let me know. Okay, so M, let's see over here. Hi, Selston M, Trikim M as well. Victor, VJ, Bon, hi, good to see you as well. Awesome. Okay, so this is the S&P 500 index, right? S&P 500 index, pretty much one of the most popular index that tracks the top 500 companies in the US. So you can see we are pretty much at a record high, all right? 6,297. So, I've been covering this S&P 500 index, over the past few live shows as well. Every single Friday we cover it, just do a quick update. And I mentioned about this very quick key resistance level around the 6,150. Let me just draw it for you, right? So 6150 would be a very key psychological resistance level whereby, just last month or last month, we were actually below it. And I mentioned that, if you can break the 6150, that is where potentially we may see even more upside momentum in the market, right? And that's where the targets can be revised even higher. So it seems like, in fact, right, that has happened, right, over the past 2 weeks, last week as well. We have broken the 6,150 and even the 6,200 psychological resistance level has given way as well. So I can draw another line right over here. So I think the market is definitely looking more bullish. We have broken the 6150, whereby we have touched since December. Look at this, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We just couldn't get above it, and sellers came back and we pushed all the way down. Of course, with Trump introducing tariffs somewhere around April, we went all the way to bottom around 5,000, and we saw a pretty good recovery. So right now you can see that we're still holding quite firmly above this new resistance turn support level around, I would say, the 6,200. It's not even 6,150. I think 6,200 has came out as a pretty good horizontal support for the entire market over the past 2 weeks. And that's also where the 20 days moving average, like you can see the green line that has been pointing up since early of May, right? Up. It is still kind of like pointing up right now. So I think the short-term trend is up. The longer-term trend is starting to turn from a little bit of like sideways to potentially moving up. And so we can get another confirmation if the 100 days moving average, the red line, can cross back above the blue line. That would be another confirmation that the longer-term trend has turned up. So what we can do right now is that, I've kind of like, analyzed the entire market manually by looking at what we call the trend in the short term, in the longer term, and also drawing what we call horizontal support levels at 6,200. But what we can do is that, I have this one good trend pro indicator right over here, right? And in the middle of seconds, right, for any stocks, even the markets, right, we can turn it on and check if there are any bullish or bearish signals. So let me show you what I mean, right? So very quickly, 1, 2, 3, pump. And there we go, right? So you can see that we actually had a couple of bullish signals coming out that led the reversal, all right, since early of May. Of course, we have talked about it last week as well when we did cover the markets, all right? And somewhere around in February, even in like March, we got 1 GT. So 1 GT stands for one good trend, pretty much the name of my strategy. So we got 2 bearish 1 GT signals coming out. So when you see like a bearish signal, you don't want to rush, you don't want to just get in because, there could potentially be more selling, all right? And can hit lower and lower, not for 1 day or 1 week, but you can see it hit lower for like, 1-2 months. And then we got new 1 GT bullish signal somewhere around early of May. In fact, that was the end of April, 29th of April, right? We got a 1 GT bullish signal. The short-term trend started to turn up. The green line, right, was going down. Started to turn up. That's another confirmation. It's still kind of like pointing up. And more importantly, guys, I want to share with you guys, right, that over the past 2-3 weeks, we have another new 1 GT bullish signal actually coming out. So not too bad, right? That's where we started to push a little bit higher, right? A little bit higher. So I think the market looks pretty bullish. There is no bearish signal out as of now. I think some of the news that have been affecting the market would be like, Nvidia pushing to kind of like a $4 trillion, one of the, in history, right? The highest market cap in history, right? It's kind of like led the market even higher, a bit of a play back into the technology sector as well, into the AI sector. Of course, we have many companies reporting pretty strong results that exceeds analyst expectation. That's kind of like pushing the market higher. Of course, trade tensions between US and China is cooling off. It's kind of like cooled off already, and Trump is kind of like making deals with many of those other countries as well. So I think that is kind of like a positive boost to the market, as people are more or less accepting that this whole entire tariffs is kind of like a way for Trump to negotiate down. So introduce it, and then it's kind of like negotiating down, and it's definitely not as negative as when he first announced it in April, right? So I think that is kind of like the positive news that's been happening in the market. Right. Okay, so this is the S&P 500 index. Not too bad, right? Not too bad. Pretty good. Above 6,200, I think it looks pretty bullish. And if I can quickly turn on what we call the trailing support and resistance. So this is a very powerful feature of my One Good Trend Pro indicator. You can see that right over here, all right? Okay, let me just remove all the lines. You can see that when we got the first 1GT bullish signal, right, this trailing support actually popped up, right? It follows the market as it moves even higher, right? But follow not like, not very closely, but it gives the market space to breathe, right? And it accounts for volatility as well. So as long as we stay above the trailing support level, which we are still above, right? You can see, right? Up, flat is following since May, follow. And we are kind of like still above this trailing support because there's a little bit of space, right? There's still some space, below it, right? Prices kind of like, below the prices, there's a bit of space between the trailing support because it accounts for volatility. So you can see that we're still above it, and it is around the 6,118, right? 6,110, 118. So around there. So as long as you stay above it, I think the market still looks pretty bullish. If you can even break the 6,300. So over the past 2 weeks, it seems like 6,300. All right, would be a little bit of a resistance level. So I think we can break the 6,300. That could be even more upside momentum. Targets could be revised for the market, maybe all the way to 6,500. All right, so this is the S&P 500. Let me just go to cover what we call the STI, the Straits Times Index, because today we're looking at Singapore stocks, right? So let's go to cover the Singapore market. So very quickly, guys, you can see that the STI has been pretty bullish, right? Has been pretty bullish. Let me just go to turn on the One Good Trend Pro indicator, and very quickly you can see that, well, same thing. We got a 1GT bullish signal right over here, somewhere on 17th of April, right? 17th of April. Of course, we got a bearish signal before that. That was in 3rd of April, whereby Trump announced the reciprocal tariffs. Many of the companies, many stocks broke key support levels. Of course, the market got a 1GT bearish signal as well, all right? And there we go, right? From about 4,000, went all the way down to 3,005, 3,006. A very good reversal signal came back, and we have rebounded. So very good. I think the Singapore market has been pretty bullish, I would say, over the past 1 over month. All right, we have been pushing high for many of the stocks. In fact, we've been sharing some of those stocks with our clients as well. Many of the stocks are moving higher. All right, and I think there could even be more bullishness. All right, there could even be more upside, right? So later we check out some of the stocks that you guys are asking about. But I think Singapore market has been pretty resilient. So you can see that the longer term trend is up. Look at the red line, 100 days moving average, and the blue line, the 200 days moving average. These two lines have been up, right, since last year. So I think somewhere around May last year, for more than a year, the longer term trend has been up. Red above the blue, both finding up. Short-term trend, of course, looking at the green line, you can see that we are not always up, right? Of course, in somewhere in April, we sold down. Somewhere around July last year, we sold down. We got a bearish signal. So when you see a bearish signal and the short-term trend turns down, then you want to be patient, right? You don't want to rush in because you want to wait for the short-term trend to turn back up, right? And that's where it could guide you to get back in, right? That's part of our, our strategy, right? To catch reversals. So you can see that the short-term trend has turned up. And the green line, what do you guys think? Let me know, guys, if the short-term trend is up or down right now. Just type U for up, D for down. Let me know, right? What do you guys think about the short-term trend for the entire Singapore Straits Times Index? Is it up or down? U for up, D for down. Hi, good to see you here as well. Energized Mood, right? Joining us every Friday. A lot of you are familiar faces. Thank you so much for the support, guys. All right, just joining us every Friday. All right, up. So I think a lot of you can see that it is up. Very simple. Hi, VJ, good to see you as well. Let's see. Leonard, Clement, up to the moon, right? Okay, I mean, we'll find out whether is it to the moon or maybe to a little bit more. But you can obviously see that the short-term trend, based on the green 20 days moving average, is sloping up, right? It was actually sideways. I mean, it was actually like a little bit moving sideways, right? Somewhere around like May and June, whereby, you know, we were consolidating from about 3,800 to below the 4,000. But over the past 2 weeks, well, we have broken this very key psychological resistance, the 4,000, right? I talk about this 4,000 level, you know, many times over the past few months. I mentioned that if we can break the 4,000, we can be even more bullish, right? We can see more upside momentum. You know, there'll be a lot of funds moving back into the mid caps, you know, the big caps as well, even the banks as well, all right? And that has led the STI Singapore's index even higher. So you can see we are 4,179. So we have broken the 4,000. So that would be what we call a very key new support level, kind of like a new footing, a new ground for the entire market, right? If we stay above 4,000, I think we are pretty much at a higher phase right now. So this would now be a new support level at a 4,000, right? And of course, the green short-term trend is still pointing up. So what we can do right now is that if I can turn on the trailing support level, that gives the market space to breathe, right? And hopefully move higher. Let's see where it is, right? You can see that, well, this trailing support that has popped out since the first 1 GT bullish signal appeared, right? You can see that the trailing support follow it, all right? Follow. Of course, it was like flat somewhere in June. And with us breaking the 4,000 now, the trailing support is starting to follow the STI even more, right? Of course, giving it space as well, right? Not follow too closely, but it counts for volatility. So you can see that over the past like 2-3 weeks, guys, after breaking the 4,000, this trailing support is following it up, right? Because why? Because the market is moving up, right? So it's following up as well. So I think it looks pretty good, right? 4,100. Look at this right over here. So this trailing support is around the 4,100. So not even 4,000. 4,100 would now be a key psychological support level for the entire STI, right? So I think we can kind of like shift this up right over here. It gives the market space to breathe, all right? I think anything above 4,001, we still look pretty good. There could still be more upside, right? 4,002, maybe a bit of selling, right? And I might consolidate a little bit, but I think, you know, so far it looks pretty bullish, right? So this is what we call the market, the STI, all right? We're seeing strength in the Singapore's market. You know, of course, we've strength in the US as well. In fact, Singapore has been pretty resilient, right? Pretty resilient. Funds are, you know, kind of like flowing back into the technology sector as well, like Frencken, some of the stocks that we covered as well, right? Okay, so let's go into cover very quickly, guys, the stocks that you guys want a quick opinion on. So very quickly, let me know, guys, in the chat, the stocks, right? The stocks that, you know, you guys want the Singapore market. So for those of you who are just joining us, welcome to our Friday weekly Ask Me Any Stock session. If you're looking at stocks, and today we'll be looking at Singapore stocks, right? You are in the right place, right? So what happens is that I'm going to go through, me and Z will go through the Singapore stocks that you want very quickly based on my one good trend strategy, based on this tool that we have to see if there's any bullish or maybe even bearish signals that have came out, right? So just type in the chat, right? Any Singapore stocks that you want a quick opinion on, and give us a bit of context, right? Rather than typing like Beng Guang or DBS or Geo Energy, right? Give us a bit of context, like, are you looking to buy? Have you bought it like last month, last week? What's the price? You know, and so that at least when we advise you, we are more or less, you know, have a bit of context, like, are you thinking to get in or get out, right? So that's better, right? So let me go through some of the stocks that you guys are asking about. Okay, let's see, right? So guys, today we'll be looking at the Singapore market, right? Singapore market. So I know some of you are typing like a bit of US stocks. So next Friday, then we'll be back to US, but today will be Singapore market. Okay, let me just go ahead. Okay, maybe I can just go through the first one, right? Kunaf bought sets at $3.50. Can I average it down now? Let's find out, right? So sets, SATS, right? Sets services. Let's see where we are. There we go. So this is sets. Okay, let me just go to remove all the drawings. And this is sets. You can see right over here, right? So Kunal, I hope you're here, right? So you bought at $3.50, all right? So I believe you bought around, let's see, maybe around here. I think around here, all right? 350. So I think, right? Can I average down now? So one thing about my strategy is that we normally don't encourage our, you know, graduates or mentees to average down on a stock that is bearish. So for example, let's assume that, you know, you got in 350. Of course, you probably wouldn't want to get in at 350 because why? Look at this, guys. So I've turned on the one good trend pro indicator, and you can see that we have a couple of bearish signals there. 1, 2, 3 bearish signals. The green 20 days moving average line was kind of like sloping down. So we normally don't want to buy when the short-term trend is down. Bearish signals have appeared. And if you buy, then you might get stuck, right? So that's the first thing. Probably don't want to buy, right? So, let's say if you average down, like 350, you get in, 330, you get in, $3, you get in, it goes down and down and down. So we normally don't want to buy when there are signs of the trend pointing down. And if you're averaging down, you're just throwing good money over bad money, right? Hoping that it will reverse, right? So that is not the way. I think what happens is that we should wait for a sign of a reversal, then you get back in. All right, so that's what we call to catch the reversals rather than just averaging down and buying because it's cheaper. Does it make sense? Okay, so let's go back to your question, right? Can I average down now whereby, it is starting to push up? So that's different because right now you can see that we actually got a couple of bullish 1GT signal coming out. Right? That was in, I would say, April, right? 24th of April, we got a 1GT bullish signal. We have broken like maybe the 280 resistance level, and the short-term trend has started to turn up as well. Look at the green line, right? Up, flat, and right now it is starting to turn up as well. So I think not too bad. You definitely want to put sets in your watch this, Kunaf, because we are looking at a pretty good bullish move because we have also broken this $3.20. So $3.20, you can see, right? Since like March, we broke down, consolidated below. And same thing just about last month in June, we hit it there, a bit of profit taking, came back, we sold down again. But finally, right, the $3.20 resistance have given way, right? And we also got a new 1GT bullish signal. So I think this 320 would be what we call like a new resistance turn support level. We can stay above 320. Okay, let me just change this from red to green in color. I think that is where potentially we could start to see the reversal in play, right? All the way, maybe, let's say, right? I think maybe about 360, that was where we broke down a little bit of support here. I think that could be where we might see some upside targets all the way to here, and that's where some selling can actually happen. So I think if you're looking to like average down, right? So I would say that is pretty okay right now because we are definitely seeing some signs of a reversal rather than buying when it was going down, right? So when we say average down, as I say, normally we don't buy when it's going down. We buy when there's strength in the stock, when there are bullish signals, when there are reversal signs coming back. Then we think about averaging up, all right? Not averaging down, but averaging up as it moves up. Does it make sense? All right. So that is where I think it looks pretty good. Above 320, we got a 1GT bullish signal coming out. And yeah, I think there could be more upside as long as we hold above this new higher 320 support level. So that is pretty much the first stock for today. Sats, let me pass on the mic to Z to cover the next Singapore stock. Z?
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, so I've been looking through the comments, right? I think quite a lot of you guys were asking about the banks, especially. I saw Victory is asking, right? I wanted to buy bank stock, currently all-time high, should I wait for the dip? Catherine is also asking about all the banks, right? Whether is it near the resistance? And I think one more, Selston is thinking whether the banks to hold. Okay, so maybe for me, I will start off with DBS banks first because DBS is one of the largest weightage component in the STI, right? And just now, as you guys have listen to Joey's analysis for the STI, Singapore market has been pretty bullish, right? And DBS is actually, I think the weightage of DBS in STI is more than 20%. Yeah, more than 20%. So the movement, as you can see over here, is pretty similar to how the STI moves, right? And let's take a look at some of the levels and see, where are some of the levels that we can potentially position ourselves for entries, and where are some of the levels that, is the resistance where we could expect some selling pressure to return. Okay, so for DBS, first thing first, longer term uptrend, the red and the blue line, if we can just take a look at this, it's pretty solid, right? It has been going up since a couple of months back, even like 1 year ago, and prices have just been, since the start of the year, it has been trading up and down within this range, but somewhere at the early April, that was when the tariffs actually first announced by Trump, right? And that was when the entire market dipped. But very quickly, prices actually found a support, right? And buyers actually came back in near the $36 psychological support level. And then subsequently, we do have a 1GT bullish signal, right? And that's where we also started to see the short-term trend has started to point up, flat, and now it is going back up again, right? And also recently, we also do see another 1GT bullish signal. So this is the second consecutive one that is actually on the 7th of July, right? So I think Catherine was also asking about something about resistance, right? So I think for DBS, right, one of the key resistance, right, was actually around the 45.50 to about the $46 right over here, right? Because back in a couple of months ago, since February, March, this is where we saw a couple of times whereby price actually near this 46 level, but then unable to break above, right, came back down, and then somewhere in June it actually happened again right over here, right? Only very recently in July, that's where we managed to finally break and hold above this 46 psychological resistance, right? And now it is actually what we call a support, right? Now it's what we call a support. So for those of you who are thinking about potentially entering a position or positioning yourself for entry, right, especially like victory right over here, currently it's an all-time high. Should I wait for the dip? So now if we look at the trend, all the trend in terms of the moving averages, short term and long term, all of them are aligned and heading in the same direction, and that's the first sign of a good uptrend, right? Because we only want to buy when the stock is in an uptrend, not in a downtrend, correct? So that's a good mentality. But the question is, where should we position ourselves for entry, right? For a stock that's in an uptrend and we want to buy into a stock that's in an uptrend, we want to look for support levels, right? Support levels. So this 45.50 to 46 level, right? This is what we call a resistance turn into a support, right? So now price is trading at about 46.96, right? And it is actually still holding above this new higher support. So I would say in terms of positioning yourself for entry, somewhere near this level, right, near the 46, right, I think this is where you can potentially set some price alerts, right, to alert you if prices were to actually pull back a bit and it still managed to hold above this new higher support level, right? And in terms of potential upside, then maybe some of you who are holding on to this position, right, then you might be thinking, hey, should I actually consider to actually sell this stock? Should I consider to hold? The thing is that potential upside targets that we are looking at potentially would be towards this $50 psychological level. If I were to do a simple projection up like that, based on the range that it was actually trading over the past months, $50, I think, is one of the levels that potentially we can expect some selling pressure to return. Would not be surprised, if prices were to actually consolidate, hit here, then this is where potentially we might see some selling pressure return. All right. So that would be a very quick one for DBS, some of the levels that you can potentially take note of, especially of the support and as well as the resistance. Okay, so that would be for DBS, and I'll pass the time back over to Joey to cover the next stock.
All right, thank you so much, Dee. Let's move on to the next stock. All right, let me see what is this stock. So I think that would be from Esther. Esther, let's see, right? Esther bought Frencken at $1.28. Good to hold. Can add more. So you have bought it. All right, maybe it's gone up. In fact, it's gone up, right? You bought at 128, now it's 1.39. So congrats, you're definitely making some money. All right. So the question is that should you take some profit? Should you get out? Or maybe you can go up even higher, right? So you don't want to rush. Okay, let's find out. So you can see that this is Frencken. You can see that since beginning of the year, we were pretty much in a longer term downtrend just by looking at the moving averages. You can see the 100 days moving average, the red line, has crossed below the blue line. In fact, since September, right? So it was a bit of a, forming lower highs. In fact, we can also draw what we call a downward sloping channel resistance line, right, as it forms lower high. So it was a bit of a downtrend, I would say, right, since September all the way to around April. We're like going down, touch, go down even lower, touch, go down even lower, right? But somewhere around May, it has woken up, right? It has woken up. Why? Because we have broken above this downward sloping channel resistance level, and that's why we started to see some signs of a reversal. So today, right now, right, there are definitely some signs of the longer term trend potentially turning up just by looking at the 100 days moving average, the red line, and the blue line. So you can see right now the red is still below the blue, right? I mean, we want the red to be above the blue and both lines pointing up. That will be where we get a confirmation that the longer term trend has turned up. Something like over here in 2023. Look at this, right over here. Red went above the blue and the rally actually started. The longer term trend turned up. So right now you can see there, it's about to happen, right? The red is kind of like nearing the blue 200 days moving average, but it's still below, right? But I think as long as we stay above some of the key support levels, right, these will eventually happen. There will be a confirmation that the long-term trend has turned up. Let's take a look at the green 20 days moving average. This line right over here, you can see that this green line, the short-term trend, has turned up since May, up, flat a bit, and now it is starting to move up. So I think definitely we are seeing some signs of both the longer-term trend and so the short-term trend turning up. There could still be more leaks to this reversal. So let me go to draw some very key psychological resistance levels. So over the past few days, right, it seems like $1.40. That was where we were somewhere in August last year. A little bit of a support, right? Support became a resistance. And right now, you can see that we are right over here at $1.40, right? So that is where some profit taking has came back, because you can see that, since this week, we actually saw at $1.40, right, some candlestick bars that have came out whereby sellers are coming back, right? Sellers coming back, whereby we've got long upper shadow, a little bit of a doji as well. It just shows a bit of profit taking near the $1.40 psychological resistance level. It doesn't mean that we are going to go all the way down, crash or what. No. It just means that near 140, that is where some selling has came back, which is correct, because as I say, 140 was where we touched previously in August and we sold back down. So 140 could be where we are just consolidating for now below this resistance level. But I think the key here is that if we can break 140, right, we go to 142, 143, 144, 145, right, and we stay above it, that would be where we could potentially see more upside, right? Targets could be revised even higher all the way. Let's see where we can hit to. I think maybe all the way to $1.65. That was pretty much where we were, all the way over here. All right, so I think that could be where we may see more upside if we can firmly break the $1.40 psychological resistance level. Let's take a look at what it says on my One Good Trend Pro indicator. So as I say, right, for any stocks, we can turn it on. All right, in seconds, let's turn it on and see. So you can see we got a few bearish, quite a few bearish signals coming out since September, right? Red signals, red, and it goes down, down, down. So when you see a bearish signal, you probably don't want to rush, right? Wait for some stability, wait for a new bullish signal to come back, wait for the short-term trend to turn up, and that's where you could get back in, right? So yeah, it did happen, right? Somewhere around April, we got one bullish signal. The second one came out somewhere in May as well. And there we go, right? There we go. From here all the way to where we are right now, 48%. 48% in just about 2 over months, right? And there's no bearish signal right now. So I think it looks pretty good, right? It looks pretty good. If I can turn on the trailing support just to show you where we are right now, well, it is around the 125. So 125 is the level whereby we give the stock Frencken space to breathe. As long as it's stable 125 or maybe even 130, right? It looks pretty bullish, and I think right now 140 will be a key level. So just watch it. Back to your question, Esther, can add more? Well, I think if it does dip a little bit to 130, all right, that could be some grounds for you to enter near the support zone for a potential rebound. But in order for more upside to happen, 140 will be a key level. You can break that. Targets could be revised all the way to 160 to even $1.65. All right, so that's Frencken. Let me pass on the mic to Z to cover the next Singapore stock.
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, since just now I was actually starting off with the banks, right, DBS, so why not let me just continue with it? Since there's only 3 banks in Singapore, right, let me continue with OCBC, which is the second, top holdings in the STI. I think that is, OCBC is taking about 14%, DBS is about 24%. Okay, so let's take a look at OCBC right now and some of the levels that you could potentially take note. So if we take a look at OCBC comparing to DBS earlier on, right, DBS seems like it has already broken the resistance, right? Like we've mentioned earlier on, turning into new higher support. But whereas for OCBC, if you are taking a look at it, at this point in time, right, it seems to be currently testing the resistance, right? It's currently seem to be testing the resistance. Let me just pull out this. Okay, yep. So the resistance right now, what we are looking at is somewhere around this $17.30 right over here, right? Which was actually one of the high back in February right over here. And subsequently, we saw that, selling pressure came back in, and then it went back, trying to hit back up to this nearly $17.30 level, but unable to break above. And that was when, price started to plummet, right? It went down, and this was where the tariffs actually happened as well on the early April. And subsequently, we then see a 1GT bullish signal come out, and this is where prices are at this point in time. So it seems like prices is currently testing the resistance. So for those who are actually holding on to OCBC stock, right, and you're thinking about whether, to offload some or to take some profits, I think there is nothing wrong for you to actually take some profits near the resistance level, which is currently where we are at right now, right over here. There's nothing wrong to actually take some profits, partial profits, half of your position, it is fine, right? It is fine. But what we are looking out for, right, is that if prices is actually able to break and hold above this, 1730 before it actually push up even higher, right? That is where I would also like to monitor for the longer term trend, right? Especially, the red line over here. Red line now, I mean, it is kind of like just going sideways for the past few months, right? But at least it is not pointing down. It's not pointing down. The longer term trend, 200 days moving average, which is the blue line, right, is definitely still heading up. The short term green line is also heading up. It's just that I would like to monitor, right, when prices actually break and hold above this $17.30. This red line, if it starts to show signs of it, sloping up gently, that is great, right? That is great. It means that the longer term and the shorter term trend, right, the uptrend are starting to be aligned and heading in the same direction. And potentially, this OCBC could be a breakout strategy that we can potentially look at, right? Because if prices were to break and hold above this 1730, this 1730 will turn from a resistance to what we call a support. And potentially, this could be a new area, a potential zone of entries that we can look out for in a breakout strategy, right? And potential upside targets that we are looking at, based on a simple projection up like this, you'll be around close to the $19 resistance level, right over here. All right. So I think for OCBC Bank, at this point in time, if you are thinking about taking profits, there's nothing wrong, but I would like to set some price alert. Maybe let me just do it very quickly, right? I will just set some price alert right over here, somewhere above, 17, maybe about 1745, 46, right over here, right? Let me just add alert, okay? 70, let's say 1749. Okay, add alert, 1749. Okay, maybe let me change to 1745, right over here every time and create, right? So I've just very quickly added a price alert, right, to let me know if prices actually break and manage to, be at a 1745, that level, right? And the other alerts that I also would like to set is, apart from adding price alert, I would like to add an alert for a one good trend buy alert, right? Once per bar and create. So that will actually notify me, right, whenever there is a new 1GT bullish signal coming up, because that will give me additional confirmation, right? Oh, that, buying pressure is actually returning and the uptrend is actually intact. Okay, so this would be for OCBC Bank. And just to take note, right, OCBC Bank, the earnings date, as you can see here, estimated is about 5th of August. It is one of the earliest bank that's going to be releasing their earnings comparing to DBS. So maybe sometimes, when OCBC announce their earnings already, some people might take some reference from, the earnings result from this particular bank and, forecast it to DBS and UOB as well. All right. So that's just some information for you guys to take note. Okay. So that will be for OCBC Bank, and I'll pass the time back over to Joey to cover the next stock.
All right, very good. Let's go ahead to cover the next Singapore stock. And that would be this stock that Clement is asking. Let me see, all right? Good morning, Clement, all right? Bought PropNex at $1.13 in February this year, right? 113. So maybe you got it somewhere around here, right? $1.13. Sitting on some profits at 1.32. Yep, now the price is 1.32, correct, right? Should I take profit? Or are there more legs to run? What can be the new target price? So very quickly, guys, you can see that for PropNex, I have already turned on my One Good Trend Pro indicator. So I think this helps us just to get a quick opinion on any stocks, any asset classes in seconds, right? You can see just off it, on it. All right, so I've turned it on, and you can see that we have a couple of bullish signals coming out, right? Since September last year, we got 3 bullish signals, and there we go, all the way up. We got a bearish signal. I think that was in April. I think Trump announced the tariffs in April, right? So we got a bearish signal. We broke a support. It went sideways, right? It went sideways for about 3-4 months. A little bit boring, but what happened over the past 2 weeks, right? We have broken a very key psychological resistance level. So I think that would be around the $1.10 to $1.15. We were pretty much trading below it. We got a couple of new 1GT bullish signals coming out. You can see, right? We have broken that resistance, and it seems like buyers are back. We are kind of like making our way up right now, whereby it's a very firm breakout move right above the resistance. So 110 would be a key level. We have broken out, and the green 20 days moving average. Now look at the green line, right? So this green line represents the short-term trend. It was up. Let me show you, right? It was up since like November all the way until March, and then it went sideways, right? Sideways. But what happens after breaking the $1.10? It's starting to move up, right, over the past 1 week. Right, so that would be another confirmation that the short-term trend has turned from sideways to up. apart from the new 1GT bullish signals coming out. So I think there could potentially be more upside. Let's take a look at where could the targets be. So we could look at the left side and see, if there are any previous highs, if we've hit it to, and then we sold off, right? That could be where we might see some selling or some resistance level. But you look at the past, right? There's nothing, right? Why? Because we are pretty much at a all-time high for PropNex, right? So what we can do right now is to do a little bit of a projection, right? Based on the consolidation phase that we have seen over the past few months. So you can see that it has consolidated, I would say, from here to here, right? About $1 to 110. I would say about 10 cents to 15 cents range for past 3 months. So we have kind of like broken that. Of course, now targets could be from here all the way to 120, but seems like 120 to 130, right? 130, we are kind of like testing this resistance level as well. So let me go to draw this psychological resistance level, maybe about 130. Now it's 1.32. So I think not too bad, right? There could potentially be more upside if we can stay above the $1.30. It's only like 1 or 2 days, right? It seems like sellers that came back yesterday, we pushed it down, but today we are attempting to push even higher again. All right, so we're attempting to push even higher. We can stay above 130 maybe today or up to next week. We form what we call higher lows, higher highs. That could be signs of strength. If I can draw another support level, so not even 110, I think 120 would be a new support level that came out. Let me just remove this. I think that is pretty much a new support level. If you can turn on the trailing support to show you. It kind of like coincides with where the 120. So 120 to 130, that is the kind of like the range. If 130 were to break, targets could be revised maybe all the way to 140 or even 150. So what we could do is to let it play out, let it ride, as long as we are holding above the trailing support, as long as there's no rate bearish signals coming out. I think that's where we want to give the stock room to go even higher, maximize our profits, and take some profits along the way, along some of the key resistance, 140, 150. Nothing wrong, take some profits, take partial profits, fine. But more importantly, we don't want to cut our profits short, right? Especially if it looks to be even more bullish, right? Especially if they're all the confirmations that we get that the stock can potentially hit even higher. Does it make sense, right? So that's for PropNex. Okay, let me pass on the mic to Z to cover the next Singapore stocks.
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, so I think the last bank that I'm going to cover right now would be UOB, right? Before I move on to other stocks. Okay, so for UOB, as you guys can see over here, right? UOB trend pretty much look closer, like it looks closer to the OCBC one rather than the DBS one, okay? Because as you can see right over here, right now price is about 36.79, right? And it seems that price has been inching up, right, over the past month or so, and it's inching up towards where? Towards one of the resistance that we have already drawn over here, which is about the $38, right? $38. In terms of trend wise, it also looks pretty much similar to the OCBC one, where we are seeing that short term, definitely we are seeing short term strength, right? Green 20 days moving average is up, blue is also up, but it's just that red is just kind of like going sideways for now, right? So same thing, I would also like to monitor if prices, for the 200 days moving average, whether it is starting to show signs of it, starting to have some signs of it, like, slowly pointing back up like that, that would be great, right? That would be great. But in terms of, thinking about, where can you potentially position yourself for entry, definitely right over here, one of the levels that, we can actually spot in terms of support level would be around this 34, right? 34 level right over here. This is where you can potentially set some price alert. But of course, the thing is that I don't know whether price will actually go back down for you until this level for you to actually position yourself for entry, right? But the other way that we can actually make use of this trailing support and resistance function right over here. Let me just turn on very quickly. And we can see, right over here, prices is currently above this thing, what we call a trailing support, right, which Joey has explained earlier on. This trailing support trails the prices as it continues to move up, giving it the stock room to breathe, right? And it accounts for the stock volatility. And let me just remove this. Okay, and as you can see right over here, right, this is where the trailing support is at, right? About maybe close to 35.74, 35.75, around this level, right? So this could also potentially be one of the zones that we can potentially monitor and set some price alert, right, within this zone, right, near the trading support to position ourselves for entry as well, right? Because we ideally we want to actually get in near the support level, right? But of course, remember that, right over here at the 38 level, right over here, we potentially may see some selling pressure return as we actually saw back in February, right? So you could potentially get in near the zone, but this could be, this would be the potential range that we are actually looking at, right? But if prices is actually able to break and hold above this 38, right, potential upside targets that we are looking at, the next leg up would be around to the 42 resistance level, because that's based on a simple projection like here, and push it back up right over here. All right. So in terms of those of you who are looking at banks, I've covered all three banks, and these are some of the levels that potentially you can take note of, right? Support and resistance. Okay. So that would be for UOB. I'll pass the time back over to Joey to cover the next stock.
All right, thank you so much, Z, for covering all the three banks, right? DBS, OCBC, and UOB. So I hope you guys have a better idea. All right, then let's move on to the next stock. Right, let's see. Right, let's see. Okay, I think next one would be this company called let's see. Right, John Ang. YZJ YZJ Shipbuilding broke $2.40 today. Any further upside? So you can see right over here, I've already turned on. All right, the 1GT Pro indicator in terms of the bullish and bearish signals for YZJ Shipbuilding, right? And yes, in fact, right, we are kind of like attempting to break the $2.40 psychological resistance level. So as I say, right, in a matter of seconds, right, we can turn on these bullish and bearish signals, get an opinion whether to buy or sell, right? And of course, when you see bearish signal, then you don't want to rush and buy. So I think we got bearish signals coming out in February, not one but two. All right, and there we go, right, from like $3 all the way down to $2. All right, so if you want to buy, then good luck to you. So you don't want to buy when you see a bearish signal, especially if the shorter trend is turning down as well. But only when there are signs of a reversal, when there are new bullish signals coming out, and then we have to think about getting in, right? So you can see that we actually got 1 and 2 bullish 1GT signal coming out over the past 2-3 months. So not too bad. So let me just show you. I think who is asking? John, right? John, I think very good. Thanks for sharing this stock with me. In fact, I think we got an alert a couple of days back based on this signal. But it seems like we are attempting to push higher, and there's this pattern that I've kind of like look at it as well, right? Look at this. Let me just draw this psychological resistance at about $2.40. So this is, I mean, apart from the bullish signals, what happens is that this is what we call an inverse head and shoulder pattern. All right, so let me just show you what I mean. You can see that this is pretty much a left shoulder up, a head, a right shoulder. All right, and we are kind of like attempting to break what we call the neckline resistance level at $2.40. So this a little bit of more advanced patterns, but doesn't matter, right? I just want to share with you guys, this is what we call an inverse head and shoulder pattern. So if we can break the neckline resistance at $2.40 plus the confirmations that we get based on this bullish signal coming out, I think we're poised to hit even higher. Targets could be revised, and the reversal could really happen, right? All the way to, let's see, I mean, maybe a bit of resistance at 260, after 260, maybe all the way to like $3. I think that could be kind of like the upside targets, right? 260 all the way to $3. So it's only like one day. I mean, right now it's $2.42. So you have to put this stock and watch this, guys. All right, we got not one, but we got 2 bullish signals. The short-term trend seems like it is starting to turn up as well. If we can hold above 240 today, all right, or maybe next Monday or Tuesday or next week, right? I think we could get all right, a confirmation that this reversal is indeed ongoing, all right, and that's where these targets could actually play out, all right, all the way to 260 to even $3. So thank you so much, John. Right, I just kind of like wrote it down. Definitely, this stock is in my watch list. I'm kind of like waiting for it to break this level. It seems like we are attempting to do it right now, but of course we need more confirmation to see whether can we hold above it till the end of the day. Don't go up and then come back down. Of course, not counted. We want to break above it and you stay above it. All right, a couple of days. I think that would be a good confirmation that this reversal is starting to happen and play out. All right, so that is YZJ Shipbuilding. All right, so Z, back to you to cover the next stock.
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, so I think this stock that I'll be covering has it's quite popular over these few days, right? Because it has gone up quite a bit, and we also have quite a number of clients that's asking us, right? Selson is asking about Singtel, whether to hold. Sukuman also asking, can buy Singtel shares since it already break above $4. Definitely, this stock has been on our watch list, and I believe Joey has also been sharing some of this stock as the stock idea, right, over the past months to our VIP clients, right? So in case if you guys are joining over here, I think there's about 300 of you guys. In case if you guys are not a VIP client of Joey yet, right? you guys, would like to receive some trading ideas on a daily basis, you guys can actually, click on the link, right? I believe Joey will be pasting the link in the chat. You can click on the link to find out more on how to actually be a VIP client of Joey lah. All right. Okay, and then you can
Definitely.
actually
So guys, yeah, I mean, based on the sorry, this detour. So based on this stock to be shared, guys, I think like we have like PropNex, which are covered, even Frencken. Now we actually share these stocks with our clients in Philip Securities, right? Whereby I'm a broker, of course, this is under me as well as a top broker in Philip, and that's why we actually share some of our top ideas by WhatsApp daily, right, for free, right, for free. And if you want to get some of these ideas much faster than than the time we do our Friday weekly AMAS, make sure you check out the link. All right, it's in the chat already. Find out how you can become a client of mine in Philip Securities, especially if you are trading. I mean, you probably need a trading account to buy and sell stock, so you're not getting any service from a broker, right? Nobody send you any idea, nobody send you any training video, WhatsApp, nothing. Nobody contact you at all. Right, find out how you can become a client of mine in Philip Securities for free at no additional cost, right? You pretty much will pay the same as whatever you're paying when you're trading, right? No difference, same, okay? But you get some of those services, some of our top ideas for free. All right, so the link is in the chat. Okay, yeah, Lee, sorry, back to you.
No problem. All right, okay, so let's take a look at Singtel right now and let's dive right into it to see some of the levels, right? Especially those of you guys who are thinking, can I actually still get into Singtel? It's a bit high right now, right? Okay, but let's take a look at the trend first. First thing first, back to the basics, take a look at the trend. Long-term trend, definitely both red and the blue line going up, right? Short-term trend, it has been flattening out for the past couple of months, right? But we are starting to see some signs of it starting to point up as well, right over here, right? Over the past couple of days, especially so when prices have actually broke above the $4 psychological level, right? When it has broke over the $4 psychological level, let me just turn this to green, because now price is at 415, right? It's actually holding above the $4, and we actually got a 1 GT bullish signal coming out on the 11th of July, and this is not the first one. The first one actually came out on 28th of January. So let me just do a quick 28th of January right over here to where we are at. Price has risen about 28%, right? Close to 30% in a couple of months, right? And that's not too bad. And the trend still seems pretty strong right now. And we do not have a bearish signal or exit signal at this point in time. Right, so for those of you who are thinking about positioning yourself for entry, like what I've mentioned earlier on, to sound like a broken record, right? I always say to always look for entries near a support zone, near a support level, especially when the stock is in an uptrend, right? So $4, as we all know, right over here, previously was a resistance. As you can see, in May it was tested one time, 2 times over here, a couple of days, right? And finally, it managed to break above it. So $4, I would say, is one of the very crucial and key psychological support level at this point in time, right? At this point in time. So perhaps you can actually set some price alert over here, right? Near the $4 level to position yourself for entry, right? Because as you can see right over here, I already set my alert at $4.05 right over here. You can actually do the same as well, to alert you to take a look at this stock again. If prices were to actually retrace back to this potential buy zone for you to accumulate on the dips, all right? And in terms of those of you, right, who are actually holding on to this position, right, for Singtel, or you're already holding on to this stock, one of the resistance, right, that we are actually looking at, the first resistance definitely is towards the $4.30 based on a range projection upwards right over here. So I would not be surprised if, somewhere near the $4.30 over here, right, we might see, some selling pressure return, some profit taking happening. Yeah, I would not be surprised, right? And that is also where you can potentially take some profits as well. Put the money in your pocket first, realize the money, and, drink a cup of coffee and things like that, right? So that is where you can actually potentially, also set price alert, right, to alert you to take some profits, right, near the resistance level. And the other way that we can also make use of this trailing support and resistance function is that, for some of you who have maybe even bought earlier before that, right, some of you who have, holding on to this stock for quite some time, you can make use of the trailing support function, right? And this is where you can actually use this thing called what we call a stop limit order. Let me just change this to red and dotted line, right? So the stop limit order, as you can see, the trailing support will move up as the price continue moves up, and that is where you can use this as a guide to actually also place your stop limit order up and follow the trailing support, right? To actually protect your profits as you continue to ride the uptrend. Okay, so that is one way that you can effectively use the trailing support function as well to capture more profits as you continue to ride the uptrend up. All right, so that would be for Singtel, some of the levels that you can take note of. Back over to you, Joey, to cover the next Singapore stock.
All right, thank you so much. Let me go ahead to cover the next one. And let's see, right? Dave, I hope you're still here, right? Banyan can hold, bought at 0.515. All right, good. Let's see, right? So this is Banyan Tree. I think Banyan Tree, right, Dave? Okay, so this is Banyan Tree. Now the price is about 0.65. So not too bad. I bought at 0.515, about, more 15 cents already. Okay, very good. So let's see. I think it looks pretty bullish, right? We have a couple of, 1 GT bullish signal coming out since like May, second and third one coming out as well. The short-term trend, the green line, right, that was kind of like flat, has turned up. Obviously, it's still pointing up right now. I think that would be a confirmation that the short-term trend is still pointing up. So I think this stock has kind of like woken up when we broke this very key psychological resistance about that 36 cents. You can see, right? Right over here. Look at this, guys. So since like last year, right? Last year, 2024, we were touching this 0.36, 0.35, and it's coming down. But once we break this resistance, well, we got two new bullish signals, and there we go, right? It moved from here all the way to here. What? 79%? Oh my God, 79% in like less than 2 months, right? So back to your question, can hold, right? Can we hold, or can it move up even higher? So what I would say is that there's obviously no bearish signals. I mean, after the 79% from these bullish signals, I think it looks pretty good still, right? But when we say can hold, right, we want to really understand that, do you hold all the way? I mean, what happens, if certain levels are broken? Do you still hold it? All right. If the bearish signal comes out, do you still hold it? Of course not, right? So we want to hold. We want to give the stock room to go even higher. However, we want to take steps to protect the profits, right, that you have. So you're definitely sitting on profits. I mean, you bought at 0.515, all right? So maybe somewhere over here, right? I mean, okay, slightly a bit higher, right? So definitely you're sitting on profits. So what you could do is to take steps to protect your profits, all right? And you don't want to let it come all the way down and you hold all the way down, right? Then that's not a wise move to do, right? You want to take steps to protect your profits such that even if you're to dip below a certain level, you get out, you still make money. Does it make sense? So how do you do it? Well, we can turn on what we call the trailing support level, a very powerful feature from my One Good Trend Pro indicator. As you can see, right? This trailing support that's popped out since May, all right? As Banyan Tree has moved up, it has followed it to move up, right? Follow up, flat, follow. So past like 1-2 weeks, it has broken like maybe the 45 cents resistance. You can see it starts moving up, and of course the trailing support also started to follow it up. So you can see this trailing support, it will be somewhere around that 56 cents level, all right, 56 cents. So that is where I think we stay above it is still quite okay. Of course, if Banyan Tree to move up even higher and higher, this trailing support will continue to follow. So what you could do is to set what we call a stop loss to protect your profit, such that if you dip below the trailing support, that give it space to move up. That means it's not so good. If it actually breaks below the trailing support, we will get a bearish signal. That's where you want to be alerted to take some profit and get out, right? But if not, I think it's still okay to hold, but not hold blindly, to hold with a plan, right? To protect your profits and give it, the room to hopefully move up even higher. Does it make sense? All right. So that is for Banyan Tree. That's for Banyan Tree. I think it still looks pretty okay. Support 56 cents, maybe even a higher horizontal support level at around 60 cents that came out over the past week. It seems like that's where we got some bullish candlestick coming out. Look at this, right? Something like what we call a hammer, a long lower shadow. That's where buyers are starting to appear near the 60 cents psychological support level already, right? So this is Banyan Tree, all right? So let me pass on the mic to Z to cover the next Singapore stock.
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, so I think the next Singapore stock that I'll be covering will be UMS, right? Because I saw Energized Mood is asking. I've close to 15 SG counter, can take a bit more risk for those have yet to run up. Can add more for UMS and Namchong. Okay, so maybe let's take a look at UMS first. All right. So I believe when you say add more, you probably already holding some positions, okay, and you are thinking of adding more, maybe increasing your exposure to a particular counter. And I think that's actually one of a good mindset to have, because if you have gotten, UMS previously, maybe you have gotten at a lower price, and now price is trading about $1.43, right? So the thing is that a lot of people, most of the time, is always it's a mental barrier, right? When prices actually gone up already, you might think that, it's so expensive. Well, I don't want to buy now. I want to wait for it to go back to 90 cents, then I buy. But the thing is that if let's say the trend is pretty strong, why not, right? Why not add more positions as well? That is the mentality that we should have, and we should slowly tweak our mentality to that manner, right? And that is actually what Joey has also mentioned earlier on. Rather than averaging down, you average up, right? So that is exactly the mindset we want to adopt and we want to have. Okay, so back to energized mood for UMS. So for UMS, right over here, let's see. So prices have kind of been in a range, over the last year, 2024, where we saw that, it has just been going up and down like sideways for a couple of months, right? And only at the start of 2025, that's where we actually start to see more action coming back. And this is where, right over here, we actually start to see that, there could be a potential uptrend reversal playing out, right, somewhere in May. And we also get a 1 GT bullish signal as well. Not one, but two consecutive one, right? And that's where we also started to see, the moving averages, right? All the trend line, all the moving averages are actually heading up in the same direction. And it is in the ideal sequence, right? Green above the red, above the blue. 20, 100, 200, and that is what we want to see in an uptrend, right? That's what we want to see in an uptrend. And price, let's see, from the 1 GT bullish signal, first one came out to where we are at. That's about a 45%, right? In about, I think, 3 months. 45% in 3 months. That's not too bad, right? That's not too bad. And if you are thinking about adding in more positions, I think that's perfectly fine. But where should we potentially add position? Same thing, back to the basics. Always want to add position near the support level, right? Near the support level. As you can see right over here, this level right over here, 140, right? I would say actually 140 is one of a resistance previously, because back in, somewhere in February, right? Somewhere over here, that's where we saw, prices unable to break above, right? Above this 140, then subsequently we have a 1 GT bearish signal, prices start to come down. But right now, price is actually above this 140, right? And actually I should change this to green, because now it has turned to become what we call a support level, right? So in terms of positioning yourself for entry or adding some positions, right, I think this would be one of the levels that we can potentially take note of as well for energized mood, right? Maybe that's where you can actually set some price alert near the $1.46, maybe 141, 142, 143. That's where you can do the ting, right? Like what Joey actually did previously. So this is where we can potentially, set some price alert to alert yourself, right? To, potentially increase your exposure for UMS. But in terms of resistance wise, right, I think maybe one of the immediate resistance that perhaps you can take note of will be somewhere near the 150, because right over here, back to where the high was at on this very day, let me see, 28th of February. This is where, if I were to zoom in, we can see a very, very, very long upper shadow, right? Despite it's green, it's a very long upper shadow. And when this actually happens, it just means that, wow, on this day, all the sellers are actually queuing there to sell, and it pushed the price all the way back down. That's why we have a long upper shadow. So that is where potentially, we could potentially expect some selling pressure to return near this 150 as well. All right. So for energized mode, I think that's definitely a good mindset to have, in terms of increasing exposure, especially when we are seeing that the trend has turned up, right? And we want to add add positions near like potential support zones. All right. So that would be for UMS, 140 and maybe about the 150, the resistance, that's some levels that you can potentially take note of. All right. So back over to you, Joey, to cover the next Singapore stock.
All right, thank you so much, Z. All right, okay. So I think we have like more than 300 of you joining us. Thank you so much, guys. Would it be okay, guys, if you help us to like and share? Help us to like and share so we can reach out to more people. More people can, ask about their stock as well. Hit the like and share button, guys. And of course, if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I think there should be a bell icon at the top, something. So hit the subscribe button. We are live on Facebook as well. All right, so more than 300 of you. In fact, I think this is one of the highest attendance we had, right? More than 300. Normally it's about 200 plus. So thank you so much. So those of you who are kind of like scrolling through YouTube and Facebook, you have no idea what is this. Welcome to our Ask Me Any Stocks live show every Friday. We do it. Of course, today we are looking at the Singapore market. All right, we have gone through quite a few stocks. We've covered the STI and even the S&P 500 index as well. So I hope you guys have a better opinion. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, and of course, typing in the chat as well, the stocks that you guys want covered. All right, so help us like and share. Thank you so much. Let me go ahead to cover the next stock. Let me go ahead to cover the next stock. I think a few of you are asking about this stock, and that would be Food Empire, right? Joanne, I hope you're still here, right? Hi, can I still buy Food Empire? Let's see. I think one more. Who is asking about Food Empire? I think another of you. Elton and Food Empire, can I still enter now? All right. So this is Food Empire, one of the stocks that we actually covered. I mean, we covered a couple of months back. In fact, I got my team to send out a note to our clients in Philip Securities, right? A couple of days back. I'm not too sure. I think it's gone up a little bit more, right? Yeah, you can check your WhatsApp, guys. If you're a client, you probably received an idea on Food Empire a couple of days back. Not too sure exactly which day, but yeah, I think I got a note sent out on that. So you can see that we have broken a very key psychological resistance level, right? The $2. So we were actually trading sideways, right, for Food Empire since June, for like about 1.5 months, right? It was just, moving up and down, right? Up and then down, right? We're below this $2 psychological resistance level, right? But you can see previously, before that, we got a couple of bullish signal. There was the 1GT bullish signal that came out 23rd of April. Of course, another one in February that really kickstarted, right, the whole move up. Right? Look at this, right, from here all the way to up here, right? I think that would be about 25% gain. Went sideways down, or there was April. No wonder. So we got a 1GT bearish signal on the 7th of April when Trump introduced what we call reciprocal tariffs. Right, many of those stocks are actually triggered bearish signals as we broke certain support. But 1-2 weeks later, a new bullish signal came out, and it seems like this signal is still in play. Right, 71% in 2 over months. All right. And it's still playing out. So back to your question, can I still enter now? Well, of course, a little bit more expensive. I mean, compared to over here, it's a bit more expensive. We have broken the $2 resistance. Now is what? $2.25. Definitely more expensive than previously. It's gone up already. But the thing is this, right? Our mindset should be, we don't want to not get in because it's expensive. Because, if there's room to go even higher, if there's more legs to the rally, all right, we can still position ourselves to get in, right? So what could be a potential entry level to get in? Well, I would say that right now, $2 would be a psychological resistance level. So if you can turn this red line to green in color, right, and also I can turn on the trailing support to see where we are, to give us a bit of an idea of where some buying pressure can come back. So let me just turn it on. Right over here, right over here, you can see, right, this trailing support that has popped up since April, right, based on this 1GT bullish signal, has been following Food Empire, right? It has followed from like 130 all the way up, follow, flat, and now it starts to move up, it follows it up, right? You can see that it is around the $2. So I think $2 will be a very key psychological support level, also where the trailing support level is as well. So anything above $2, I think it looks pretty bullish, right? So the question is that, where could we think about entering? Well, I think if we near the $2, right? I'm not too sure how near, whether it's 201 or 202 or 210 or 215 or what, right? But I think if we can dip a little bit, I think that would be a pretty good, what we call an entry buy zone. I think like what Z has mentioned, we want to try to enter near a support zone, all right? That's where the upside reward will be more favorable in terms of the downside risk as well. So if you can dip slightly below, right, of course, I'm not too sure exactly whether it will dip, right? But if it does dip a little bit there, I think that could be a pretty good entry, right, in terms of a more favorable upside. But a more aggressive entry would be one whereby, of course, when it broke $2, we got a note sent out as well. That would be a more aggressive entry. That means it breaks a resistance. You check the volume. If the volume is strong, that could be where you could take a more aggressive entry, especially if you get a few confirmations of the move up. Like, for example, we got a 1GT bullish signal. The short-term trend is turning up. The long-term trend is already up. And it break a resistance, it's more bullish. That could be a more aggressive entry. But if it's gone up a bit already, all right, I think a more conservative approach will be to see if you can dip a little bit back to the support zone. That could be where you could enter. Right? You could enter a little bit. Right? Of course, we've got a plan to stop loss, especially if the $2 were to give way. Right? Let's say we go below $2 and they're not so good. You want to have a plan to stop loss. But if we stay above it, still good. Bullishness can still play out. Targets could be maybe 250 to 260. hopefully it consolidates a little bit, we get a new higher support level, and targets could be revised higher after breaking that resistance level as well. All right, so that would be for Food Empire. If we can draw, let's see, I think maybe around here, I think 250 could be potentially where some profit taking can come back again. Okay, so that is Food Empire. I hope you have a better idea. Let me pass on the mic to Z.
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, so I think the next stock that I will be covering will be this stock by Jane, right? Jane is actually asking about China Sunshine. Jane, I hope you are still here. You mentioned that you bought at 0.57, whether to hold or sell, right? So let's take a look at this, right? So actually this stock has been pretty, the chart has been pretty beautiful, I would say, like, because it had the longer term trend, as we can see over here, right? Since last year, Q4, it has been slowly, gently sloping up, and the uptrend in terms of the short term and longer term has been getting firmer over the years since the start of 2025, because that's where we also see multiple 1GT bullish signal coming out, and the most recent one came out on 10th of July, right? This is actually the second one, in fact. The first one actually came out on the 15th of April, right over here, right? And let's just take a look at this. From 15th of April, right over here to where we are at, that's about close to 37%. Right, so not too bad, not too bad. I think this stock still looks pretty bullish at this point in time, especially so if I were to zoom in on the moving averages, right? Short term, green pointing up, red pointing up, blue also pointing up, right? And very recently, over the past month from May to June, right, that's where we started to see price consolidate sideways, and this is actually a good sign in a uptrend, because I think when we always see a consolidation happening in an uptrend, right, that's actually good. It's not bad, it's good, because that's where we know, okay, that is where the buyers will potentially come back to support the price, and that's where we also can find out where is the new higher support at, right? So it also makes the uptrend actually more sustainable if we were to have a consolidation happening within an uptrend, right? So this is great, right? And the support that we can see over here was somewhere about $5.20 to $5.25. This level, right? I would say this is one of the support level, because this is where we saw actually buying pressure return. And in terms of resistance wise, definitely will be around this 575, this level right over here, 570 to about 575, right? This would be one of the resistance where we saw selling pressure return. So eventually on early July, right over here, 10th of July, 10th of July, yeah, this is where we actually broke above this resistance level, right, with a very bullish candlestick, this super long green candlestick, and we also get a 1GT bullish signal. So right now, price is trading at 0.675. And Jane, you mentioned that you bought at about 57 cents, right? 57 cents. So now you are probably sitting on about 13% profits, right? Not too bad, not too bad. And your question is whether to hold or to sell. So in terms of, okay, maybe let me talk about resistance first, all right? So in terms of resistance, as you can see right over here, because now for this particular stock, price is actually at an all-time high. So one of the ways that, apart from a projection up, the other way that we can actually take reference point for the resistance would be psychological levels. So 70 cents definitely will be one of the psychological level that you can expect some selling pressure to return near that level. All right, so 70 cents, if prices continue to hit to 70 cents, go up like this, then this is potentially where you can actually consider to actually take some profits as well. Maybe half position, 1/3, partial of it. Then the balance you can continue, right? The uptrend, no problem, right? Because we can see that the longer term uptrend rate and the blue line is actually still pointing up. But the other way that I wanted to bring your attention to, right, is actually to make use of this trailing support and resistance function. So if I were to just quickly turn it on right over here, and you can see this green shaded area and this green line, right, actually just appeared, right? And this is actually the trailing support. So the trailing support, as I mentioned earlier on, it follows the prices as it continues to move up. And right now, you can see that the trailing support, right, is right over here, It actually went up, right? Because price went up, trailing support also goes up, right? And it's currently about 0.595, right? 0.595. And it is actually above your entry price, right? So if prices were to continue to move up, do you think that the trailing support will also move up like this? I would think so lah. I would think so, because like I mentioned, price move, trailing support also moves up, right? So that is where you can actually make use of this to actually shift your stop limit order up with reference to the trailing support. So if it moves up, you continue to shift it up, shift it up, shift it up, shift it up. And that is where you can actually continue to ride the uptrend while at the same time taking steps, right, to actively protect your profits. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, all right? So that would be how you can actually make use of this, trailing support function effectively, right? You don't have to rush to sell if you don't want to, and you can actually use this trading support as a guide to help you. All right. So that would be for China Sunshine. Jane, I hope that helps. I'll pass the time back over to Joey to actually cover the next topic.
All right, thank you so much, Z. All right, so let's move on to the next one, and that will be LHN, right? LHN. So, guys, you can see that for me and Z, what happens is that when we pull out your stock, we're actually analyzing it from my one good trend strategy. Of course, we have this tool called the One Good Trend Pro Indicator. So if you want to find out a little bit more, all right, we do have time to share the whole strategy with you and all the framework, the step-by-step confirmations that we look for. But if you want to find out a little bit more about the entire strategy, or perhaps how you could have a tool like this, the One Good Trend Pro Indicator, right? Attend one of those free webinar. We have one webinar, I think web class next Tuesday, 22nd July, next Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Right, ZB, you can help me put the link up there, all right, in the chat. And attend one of those webinars whereby we share a bit more in terms of the entire strategy. I think that could really help you. And that's where, as I say, with this strategy, right, on any stock, doesn't matter, turn it on, get an opinion in seconds based on what it says on my One Good Trend Pro Indicator. All right, so the link is right in the chat. Check it out, guys. If you want to find a bit more about the strategy, let me go ahead to move on to this stock right now. LHN. Who is asking about LHN? Let me just see, right? I think we have hi, Yung Chao Cho. All right, dear team, LHN bought at 0.35. Hold or sell? What's the trend? Let's find out. So this is LHN. You can see that we actually got a couple of bearish signals, all right? It was not always that good. It was some bearish signal in February, even in April, we got two bearish signals. It started to come down, right? From like 50 cents, went all the way down to 37, 38 cents, right? So we want to be patient. So when you see a bearish signal, as I say, you don't want to rush, right? Why not, let it stabilize first, go down. You cannot go down, then you get in, right? Rather than go down, you get in, go down, get in, go down, get in, after you cannot start, right? So we don't want to do that, right? We want to wait for signs of a reversal. Does it make sense? All right, so that's what we're going to do, right? So when did the sign of reversal came? Well, it came somewhere in April, right? 16 April, right over here, somewhere on the 8th of May, another one GD bullish signal came out. And there we go, right? From here all the way to up here, what? 104%, all right? 104% in about 2 over months, all right? So you got in what price? About 0.35. Well, not too bad, you got in at 0.35, maybe somewhere around here, right? Somewhere around here, right? 0.35, somewhere around. So very good, all right? Definitely you're sitting on profits, right? Yung Chao. So what we can do right now is to make sure that you take steps to protect your profits, right? So back to your question, right? Hold or sell? Well, I think nothing wrong to take some profits. I mean, 100%, don't really be greedy, right? Definitely you can take some profits if you want. But the key here is that if you can go up some more, then why not let it go up some more? Does it make sense, right? So how do we know whether it can go up some more? How do we know if there are signs of it coming down? Reversal, all right? Bearishness coming back. How do we know? Well, if we do see a bearish signal, like for example, this bearish signal, right? I mean, if you can come over here or here or here, right? And then maybe you want to be careful. I don't know whether it will come out, but as of now, it hasn't come out yet, right? Like I think what Z has mentioned, we could take steps to protect our profits by using a very powerful feature of the One Good Trend Pro Indicator, right? And that is the trailing support and resistance. Let me turn it on. Look at this right over here, right? So based on these bullish signals that have came out since April, you can see that LHN has been pushing higher, right? I think this was one of the stocks that we, if I'm not wrong, I think I got my team to send out to our clients in Philips Securities as well. Let me know, guys, if you are a client of mine in Philips Securities and you receive an idea on LHN, just type a C, guys, type a C for client. If you are kind of like a client of mine in Philips Securities and you got this idea by WhatsApp on LHN a couple of times, let me know. Type C for client, guys, if you got this idea and you're a client of mine in Philips Securities. All right, so I think this was an idea I think I got my team to send out when it was like, I think maybe somewhere around here it was moving up. I think so. That was a pretty good move. I think it's pushed up a little bit higher since then. All right, and it seems like there could still be even more upside. There could still be even more upside. Why? Because we are still above the trailing support level. Does it make sense? You can see right over here. I think the trailing support is around that 76 to 77 cents, right over here. So as long as you stay above this trailing support with the green 20 days moving average line still pointing up, I think the uptrend looks intact. The uptrend looks intact, right? So what's the trend? I think the uptrend looks intact in the longer term. In the short term, we are above the trailing support as another confirmation, right? If we do get a bearish signal, like we go below 75 cents, right? And then, Yung Chao, that's where you might want to have a plan to maybe get out, take some profits, right? You don't want it to go all the way back down. All right, so that's what you could do to protect your profits by having what we call a stop loss, maybe below that 75 cents. So it could be like 73, 74. I think that could be where you can set kind of like a stop loss. Let me just show you something like over here, like something over here, right? So you can, as the trailing support move up, you shift it up, like you see, right? So shift it up, shift it up, shift it up, shift it up. So now you can put it right over here so that you don't want to cut your profit short. Give the stock room to move even higher, allowing it to breathe as well, right? Account for volatility and take profits along the way as it hits to some of the key resistance levels. So I think next resistance potentially could be around the $1. I think $1 may be where we might see a bit of profit taking. All right, Ken? So that is LHN. Let me pass on the mic to Z to cover the next stock.
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, so I think the next stock that I'll be covering will be by MK Teo. Right, MK is actually asking about Raffles Medical. So let's take a look at Raffles Medical. Okay, so I hope you guys can see my screen. And right over here, we have Raffles Medical. Okay, so I think for this stock, it previously it was actually in a downtrend, right? Very clearly that we can see, in 2024, the blue is above the red and is above the green, and this is not what we want to be looking at when we are thinking about buying. But right now, it seems pretty decent, right? It seems like the trend potentially that is a uptrend reversal, right? Potentially, because right over here we see that somewhere in May the red line actually crossed above the blue line, and that's a good sign, right? That's a good sign. And right now the red is above the blue, and the green is actually above the red and the blue, and all of them are actually pointing up. So that's good, right? That's good. But I think what we need to focus on here, right, is also the resistance level, because as you can see right over here, I actually draw one level near this $1.03 right over here, right? Currently, which is price have been testing it for over the past couple of months. Like actually, in fact, over the past close to 1.5 years, right? As you can see right over here, let me just zoom out a bit. Okay, as you can see right over here, right, over since November 2023 to where we are at, right, this level, I would say, is one of the very crucial and key resistance level that we need to take note of, because it has been kept below this level that you can see right over here and right over here for more than 1 year, right? So I would say this $1.03 is definitely one of the key levels that I want to take note of, especially so if prices can break and hold above this $1.03, then potentially we might see more interest returning back to this counter, right? Definitely, because that's where prices manage to break and hold above a level that has been kept below for more than 1 year. And plus, we are seeing signs of the moving averages turning back up, and it's looking pretty positive at this point in time, right? So definitely, as you can see over here, right, I've already set my price alert, right, at $1.05. Right over here, set a price alert. So that is where you can potentially look at this stock again, and for TradingView to actually alert you, right, if prices can break and hold above this $1.05. But of course, when I say break and hold above, must firmly hold above. I'm not saying that you just break and then it could potentially also come back down. It must break and hold above the $1.05 before we can see any potential upsides, right, for this particular counter. So the immediate upside that I will be looking at, right, if prices is able to break and hold above this level, like I've mentioned, would be definitely number one towards the $1.10 level first, right over here. Because if I were to zoom back out, you can see back in 2022 to 2023, this was where prices actually broke down, right? And it actually managed to keep below this level. But first thing first, like I've mentioned, most immediate and important level that I want to monitor would be definitely this $1.03 before we talk about even the $1.10. All right. So that would be for Raffles Medical, a very, very quick one. I will pass the time back over to Joey to actually cover the next stock.
All right, thank you so much, Z. Let's move on to the next one. All right. So thank you so much for those of you who are a client of mine in Philip Securities. As I say, let's see, right? We have Dave, Joanne. All right, thank you so much, Vincent, David, Gurmit, Idris, Andy, Klein. So the link is in the chat, guys. And in fact, some of those stocks that we shared, right? Like on UMS, Food Empire, LHN, Singtel, Frencken. These were some of the stocks that we actually shared with our clients in Philip Securities. So the link is already in chat, guys. If you want to get some of those ideas, by WhatsApp much faster daily for free. All right. Check it out. The link is in the chat, especially if you are kind of like trading, you probably need a trading account, right? But you don't get any service from your own broker. I mean, nobody send you any idea or video, nobody contact you, WhatsApp you, like a hotline or something like, just log in, on sell, buy, on sell, nobody do anything, right? So find out how you can become a client of mine in Philip Securities. Like many of our clients over here, like Savaraju, like Joanne, Dave, Jane as well. Also, thank you so much for the support. I think that's where you get some of those ideas much faster. All right, Ken? Okay, so let me move on very quickly to the next stock. And that would be this stock called SIA Engineering, right? Idris is asking about this stock, right? Idris. Hi, Joey. Want to know about SIA Engineering, right? Seems like not moving up even when dividend is just after next week. Bought at $3.25. Thanks. Now it's what price? $3.33. Okay, make a bit of money, $3.25 now, $3.33, right? So let's find out if there could potentially be more upside. But very quickly, you can see that I've turned on, to save time, I've turned on the One Good Trend Pro indicator, as I say, right? This is what we've been doing, right? In a matter of seconds for any stocks, any asset classes, even the market, right? Off it, on it, all right? It guides us when to get in and get out. And I forget to say just now, or I think Z has mentioned as well, we could actually set what we call an alert, right? So what we could do is, I say, you can just type the name of any stock you want and then see whether the bullish or bearish signal come out, right? Just type the name and see, okay? Or you could set an alert such that if any bullish or bearish signals appear, you can be alerted. Alerted by what? Alerted by an email. Let me show you. Like for example, you can right click, all right, add an alert. You can see right over here, right? Set what we call a One Good Trend Pro indicator, buy or sell alert. Normally I set both, buy or sell. So whenever any buy signal, a green bullish signal, or even a red bearish signal comes out, I could be alerted, right? Once per bar, all right? Right over here, notification, notify in app. So there'll be a like pop-up over here. I'm not too sure whether you guys noticed, but there was a few pop-ups over here when I'm talking just now. All right, there will be an alert, like a pop-up over here, app notification as well. You receive it like an app notification, like a thing on your phone, right? There'll be a toast notification, like a pop-up over here, even send you an email, right? So I will confirm, be reminded if there's any signal. So that's how you can set an alert, all right, for any of the signals that appears on the One Good Trend Pro indicator. So let me just create it. And there we go, right? So this SIA Engineering, I set an alert, all right? If any new bullish or bearish signals come out, we will be alerted. So you can see, we got not one, but 2, 3 bullish signals that have appeared since April 1, 2. In fact, I think when was the next one? I think that was on 15 July. Just about 3-4 days back, Tuesday. We got a new 1 GT bullish signal. So not too bad, right? I think it seems like we are starting to move up. I think we have broken, let me draw this resistance level. I think we have broken this resistance level around the $3.30. Look at this, guys. 3.30 was where we touched in June. For about a month, we were consolidating below it, sideways. And yeah, we got the new 1 GT bullish signal appearing as we attempted to break the 3.30, all right? So now we are still above 3.30. So I think it's still okay. I think if we can stay above 3.30 or maybe even the trailing support, let me just turn it on and show you, right? So I think we've been talking about the trailing support level that, gives the stock space to breathe. It accounts for volatility, right? You can see, right? We're obviously above the trailing support still, right? Of course, the horizontal support is at 3.30, is slightly higher. It doesn't give space, but the trailing support gives the stock space. So as long as you stay above the trailing support or even the horizontal support, let me just turn this to green in color, right? I think we still look pretty okay. We still look pretty okay. Let me just put this in green in color, something like this, right? So I think 3.30 would be a pretty good support level. What could be the upside targets, right? What could be upside targets? So what we could do is to look at the past and see if there's any resistance levels. So I think somewhere around like 2017, we are pretty much back to this resistance about 340, maybe around 360. That could be where selling has happened. But we could do a little bit of a projection as well, right? We could do a bit of a projection. Let me just show you where could the targets actually be, right? So you can see something like over here. We have consolidated from like about $3 to 3.30. Now we could do a bit of a projection upwards. So I would say it's somewhere around $3.60. That is potentially where we may see some profit taking coming back again. So normally what we want to see in an uptrend or stock that is, pushing higher and higher, like what Z has mentioned, right? We wanted to see some consolidation as it moves up. And that's exactly what has happened, right? You can see that since June, we were moving sideways, up, down, sideways. And that's good, right? We don't want it to just go up every other day. I think you want to be careful, right? But if it moves up and it consolidates for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it move up and it consolidates 2-3 weeks and it move up. I think that's what we call a more healthy and a sustainable uptrend. So I think right now, the fact that we have broken out of this consolidation phase, we got a new bullish signal. Well, it might slowly move up, right? It breaks 340, might go to 350, 360, maybe a bit of profit taking, some consolidation, and then pump, and then consolidate again, then pump, right? So that is what we call a healthy uptrend. And when that happens, I can assure you that the trailing support level line, right? Let me show you this trailing support line will continue to follow it as it moves up. Right, but not follow too closely lah. Give it space to hopefully move up even more. All right, and that's where you could ride the upside even more as long as you stay above the trailing support level. All right, Ken. So that is SIA Engineering. How many of you find that this tool that we have in terms of bullish signals coming out and the stock starts moving? How many of you find it pretty powerful? This type of PI, type P for powerful. If you feel that is pretty powerful, right? After getting a 1, 2, 3 bullish signal and starts moving up, type P for powerful, let me know, right? So we have gone up from here all the way to here, 62% in about 2 over months. 62%. Type P for powerful, guys. If you feel it's pretty powerful, right? Type P for powerful, let me know. So as I said, these guys asked to get in when the time comes, not anyhow, right? When the time comes to get in, don't anyhow get in when you see a bearish signal, right? But type P for powerful, guys. If you feel that this is pretty powerful. Singtel, powerful, all right? Does it make sense so far? All right, can you guys see yourself using this? All right. So yeah, if you as I say, you want to find out a bit more, attend one of those free webinars, right? Free webinars that we have next Tuesday. We have one web class next Tuesday, 22 July. Right, the link is in the chat. Check it out, and that's perhaps how you could have a tool like this. I mean, to guide you to get in. All right, not just to get in, but to get out also when the time comes. All right, Ken? Okay, so that's SIA Engineering. Let me pass on the mic to Z to cover the next stop.
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, so I think the next stop I'll be covering will be by Maggie, right? Maggie is actually asking about Bumitama Agri. Is it on the way up? I bought some time back at 86. Okay, so let's take a look at Bumitama Agri. All right, so for Bumitama, I think last year, 2024, it has been a pretty good run, right? 2024 uptrend in tech, we get multiple 1GT bullish signal, went all the way up to about 86. Okay, so maybe you have bought somewhere near the highs, near the 86, near the resistance right over here. All right, so let's take a look at this, because usually we try to avoid buying near the resistance, because that's where resistance is commonly known as the zone whereby selling pressure will return, right? And that's where potentially prices could actually come back down because of profit taking. So we try to avoid buying near the resistance, and you want to buy near the support instead. All right, so then subsequently, resistance right over here, selling pressure came back, pushed prices back all the way down, right, to about this 72 cents, and then tried to go back up again, somewhere over here, didn't manage to hit the 86. One more time, try again, still cannot hit 86, and then the tariffs actually happened, right? And buyers came back in, fortunately, to support the price at about 72 cents. Once again, right over here in June, about 72 cents, right? So these are, I would say, the for Bumitama, right, it seems like prices have just been trading within these two levels pretty consistently since the start of the year 2025 to where we are at right now, right? Because as you can tell, resistance 86 cents, support level near the 72 cents. And right now, we do see that, over the past couple of days, like what Joey has mentioned, SG market has been pretty strong, right? So we can also see that, sometimes the strength of the market could also go into stocks like these, right? And we are seeing that, over the past couple of days, prices of this particular counter has been going up, right? Has been going up. And we do see two 1GT bullish signal, one right over here on the 9th of June, the second one on the 15th of July. But if we were to take a closer look at it, right, in terms of the trend, right? So let me just zoom in so that you guys can actually see the moving average, all right? So let's take a look at this, right? The moving average right now is all converging at one point. Ideally for an uptrend, we want to see that the green above the red, above the blue. And at this point in time, if you were to look pretty closely, right, the red is still not above the blue yet. But although they are showing signs of it, sloping up, they are showing signs of it sloping up, which is not too bad. But what we want to see is, the red above, green above the red, above the blue for an ideal uptrend, right? For an ideal uptrend. So for Maggie, in terms of your case wise, right, you said that you mentioned you bought about 86. Now price is, at 815, right? 815, right? So probably you have been holding since like at the start, at the end of the year to where you are at. So probably you are still sitting on some losses right now, right? Because your entry price is somewhere near the heights right over here. So we are seeing some signs of it going back up, yes, but I think what you can do or what you can actively take steps, right, to actually protect your capital as well is to actually make use of the trading support function right over here, right? If I were to turn it on, and we can see that the trading support, right, definitely it has moved up, right? Because like we've mentioned, price move up, trading support will also move up. So you can actually make use of this, right, to actually have a stop loss order, because I'm not too sure what's your stop loss plan, right, when you first got into this counter, right? But before entering any counter, we always emphasize to all of our clients and our mentees that you always need to have a trading plan in place. And your trading plan will consist of your stop entry price, that's definitely one, your exit price, which is your target price, and last but not least, your stop loss. So when you first enter into Bumitama, I'm not too sure what's your stop loss plan, but at this point in time, what you can do based on your situation is you can use the trailing support function right over here, and you can actually have your stop limit order like slightly below, right? Because like what Joey mentioned, this trailing support give the stock room to breathe, right? Right now, over the past couple of days, yes, we do see some strength returning. But if you were to ask me, hey, will this strength continue over the next 1 to 2 weeks? I don't know, right? I wouldn't be able to forecast that. If I will be able to forecast that, I would not be here, okay? So I wouldn't know, right? I wouldn't know. So the thing is that you want to take active steps, right, to make sure that if prices were to break below this trailing support, which is the room that you're given it to breathe, right? If it breaks below it, then it's not so good, right? Because that would mean that we probably will get a 1GT bearish signal, and that will also mean that more selling pressure would return. And you want to also take steps to protect your capital as much as possible, right? Which is with your stop loss plan. Okay, so if prices were to continue to move up, great, right? Trailing support will also continue to, let me just draw it for you. Trailing support will also probably continue to move up like so, right? And that is where you can actually then shift your stop limit order up as well to protect even more profits. And hopefully, right, hopefully if prices, is able to go back to this 86 cents and break above it, then now we talk about potential upside target, right? Potential upside target, how did we derive this level right over here? Is based on a projection range simply upwards like this. So the next level that we are looking at towards would be definitely the $1 psychological level based on the range, and it is also a psychological level to expect some selling pressure, but that is provided price is able to break and hold above the 86 cents first all right. So that is some levels that perhaps Maggie you might want to take note of. And if you have the access to 1GT Pro indicator, do make use of the trading support function for your particular case. All right, that would be for Bumitama. I'll pass the time back over to Joey.
All right, thank you so much, Z. Let me move on to the next stock. All right, so I think one of you is asking. Let's see, right? I think Lam is asking about Sembcorp, right? Please comment on Sembcorp Industry and ST Engineering. Is it too high to get in now for both? All right, thanks. Appreciate the appraisal. So very good. Let me go ahead to take a look at the first one. I think that would be Sembcorp Industry right over here, $7.76. Right. So I think it looks pretty bullish, right? First of all, when we look at the stock, right, of course, we can, as I said, turn on the 1GT Pro indicator to get and see if there are any bullish or maybe bearish signals. So if you see bearish signal, then probably I would say don't buy, wait first, be patient and the kind of thing, right? But if we see new bullish signals coming out, right, that would be one confirmation. So it doesn't mean you see a bullish signal means you anyhow just buy also, right? That is just one of the confirmation we get. It gives us a bit more confidence. But when we get this confirmation, which is a very strong confirmation, together with other confirmations like the short-term trend, like the long-term trend, in terms of it breaking the resistance and all that, that will give us I would say more ticks, all right, more ticks to the confidence in terms of getting in on that particular stock. Does it make sense? All right. So you're going to find a bit more about the entire strategy. Attend one of those free webinars. As I say, the link is right in the chat. But for Sembcorp Industry, you can see, right? It seems like we have a lot of ticks, right? The longer term trend is up. Red and blue is up. Short term trend, well, it was a bit of sideways. It was a bit of sideways here in like March, April. In fact, you got a bearish signal went down a bit. So the short term trend was a bit sideways. But then what happens? You can see, right, that the green line from sideways, we started to turn up, right? Sideways a bit, turn up. Is it still pointing up right now? Yeah, it's still pointing up. So don't you bluff yourself, up means up, down means down. Okay, Ken? So the short-term trend obviously is still pointing up right now. From the bullish 1GT signals that we actually got as another confirmation in April, right? 30 April, 29 April, we got two 1GT bullish signals as another confirmation as the short-term trend turned up. Of course, over here, we got another 1GT bullish signal in June, and then, of course, started to move up even faster, right? So not too bad, not too bad. I think there are definitely more signs of strength because we have a couple of confirmations that things are looking good. These bullish signals are still in play. Short-term trend still turning up. If I can draw for you what we call a support level or horizontal support level, I think maybe around 750, 750 to even 760. That seems to be where some bargain hunting is coming back over the past few days. So I think anything above 750 or 760 looks pretty okay. If you want to get more confirmation in terms of the trailing support line, let me turn it on. You can see, right? Well, the trailing support is slightly below. Why? Because they give it space now, right? So that would be around the $7.30. So normally when price were to dip, right, to near the horizontal support or maybe even the trailing support level, that could be good zones to really think about getting in, as long as, all the signs of it pointing up is still there in terms of the short-term trend, in terms of maybe some new bullish candlesticks coming out as well at these zones. All that could lead to more confirmations of us, getting in to ride the reversal or to ride the uptrend even more. All right. So back to your question now, is it too high to get in now for both? Well, I mean, it's definitely higher than last week or last month now, but doesn't mean high means cannot buy, because most of the stocks has been pushing higher. In fact, you asked me 2 weeks ago, it was already high. All right. But if you did not get in 2 weeks ago, it got even higher. All right. So next month could be even higher. I don't know. Right. But as long as all these, confirmations that we get are still looking positive, right? That there's no bearish signal, it's still holding above the trailing support, then I think there could still be more leaks on dips near the support levels. You could still think about getting in, all right, to ride the uptrend even further. And that's one thing about the one good trend strategy, right? We don't want to, because the stock is higher and then, it's too high, I got in last week or last month and you miss out, right? And it goes up higher and higher, because a stock that is strong, all right, tends to go up higher. I mean, that's the reason why it's going up, because it's strong, right? You want to think about buying stocks like this rather than getting in on stocks which are cheap and it's going down every other day, and then you buy, and then you go down some more, go down some more, then it's like, bye-bye to you at the end, right? So you don't want to do that, right? So a little bit of change in mindset here. We want to get in on strong stocks, unfortunately a little bit higher, but there could still be more leaks to the rally, all right? And we don't want to miss out on that, all right? Especially if all the signs are all still pointing up. Okay, so that's Sembcorp Industry. Okay, let me pass on the mic to Z to cover the next stock.
All right. Thanks, Joey. Okay, so I will leave Lam comment here as well, because actually the next stock that I'll be covering will be ST Engineering, right? So Lam is also asking about ST Engineering, thinking about entering. And I also saw a couple of comments from other people about ST Engineering. So Song Ho is asking, why the bonus stock ST Engineering so boring lately, right? Actually, boring not too bad, because sometimes boring can also be good, right? And boring can also mean stable, right? And I think first and last is also asking about ST Engineering. So you mentioned that you bought ST Engineering about 340, now 840. Let the capital gain continue to run. Okay, let's take a look at ST Engineering, all right? Because this, as you guys know, if you have been joining us for the past couple of sessions for the Singapore stock market, right, you would have known that, ST Engineering is one of the bonus stock that we have been sharing for the past few months as well, right? And it is actually still, in fact, in our watch list, and it is actually, in fact, still one of the stocks, right, that we are closely monitoring, because the uptrend is definitely still intact, right? So, like Song Ho, like you mentioned, the stock can be a bit boring lately, but it is still good, right? Boring, but still not too bad. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the levels, right? So if I were to zoom in right over here, on this day, not too long ago, somewhere at the start of July, we actually gotten another 1GT bullish signal. Right after, right, it actually broke above the $8. So $8 is definitely one of the very key psychological level, right? Right over psychological resistance back when it was, June to July for this whole past month, right? It has been testing, every time, every day, not every day, maybe a few days it tests once, right? But during this whole period, right, from June to July, this was where the $8 level was actually tested a lot of times, right? And it's unable to break above it, right? And the uptrend still remains firmly intact, because at this point in time, if you were to look at the red and the blue line, the long-term trend, right, it's actually still intact. Uptrend still firm, right? Short-term trend, it is still pointing up, but it has kind of like flattened out a little, right? But still not too bad, right? Not too bad. Until early July, we finally break above the $8 level. Then this is where, we start to see, the short-term trend, right, has also started to slope up as well. So, and, interest for this counter start to return as well, right? So then then this $8 would have turned from what we call a resistance to become a new higher support, right? New higher support. So as you can see right over here, right, this green box that I've already drawn right over here, right, this is where a new support zone that we can potentially be looking at to position ourselves for entry. So of course, when price, broke above, I would not be surprised profit taking actually happened, because, price have been kept below this $8 for 1 month, right? And price finally break above. I mean, it's not surprising that, some people might want to take some profits, sell some of their positions, right? And, yeah, the next few days we are seeing the price actually came back down, right? There's some pullback back towards near the $8 level. And this is where, it is actually potentially a good zone, right, to accumulate on the dips, right? And subsequently, near this level, price rebounded back up, and currently we are at this $8.35, right? So the immediate resistance that we have drawn over here will be about this $8.50. So price now seems to be approaching this resistance level. I'm not too sure whether it will actually break it or not. But for those of you, who are thinking to accumulate on the dips, right, especially for first and last, because you mentioned that, your average cost price, you probably bought at $3.40, so your cost price is very, very low, and you're sitting on, a huge profits right now, right? So the thing is that there's no rush for you to actually, sell the stocks, but you can potentially change your mindset a bit, right? And you can think about averaging up as well to increase your exposure, especially for a stock like this, because we can see that, the uptrend is very, very strong, right? The uptrend is definitely very strong for this counter, and there is nothing wrong to actually increase your exposure near a support zone, rather than thinking about, hey, when should I sell? But maybe change your mindset a little and think about, hey, when can I potentially add more position, right? So that, you can let your profits run, right? Let your profits run. So that is this could be one of the areas that we can potentially set some price alert, right, near the $8 level, maybe $8.04, $8.05, 8.04, 8.05. These are some of the levels that we can actually set some price alert. And if you are thinking of, really, okay lah, maybe you need the cash, right? You need some money, and you are thinking of letting go some positions, there is also nothing wrong for you to take some profits near the resistance, near this level. But I would not recommend you to take the entire position, like, if you have like 10,000 shares, I would not recommend you to, take the full profit. Perhaps you can, partial, half, 1/3, that is also fine, right? Because if prices can consolidate and break above this 850, potential upside targets that we are looking at is towards the $9 level based on a range. But of course, for this ST Engineering, as you can see, it can actually consolidate for 1 month, right? But I'm not sure whether, if it approach the 850 level, it will come back down, to consolidate before actually breaking higher. But ideally, that would be a good scenario for us to actually monitor, because like what Joey mentioned earlier, in an uptrend, as long as there is some sort of consolidation, right, it actually makes the uptrend even more sustainable for the longer run. All right, so that would be for ST Engineering. I hope that helps give you some better ideas of where can you potentially take some profits, where can you potentially add some positions. So now I'll pass the time back over to Joey to cover the next stock.
All right. Okay. Very good. Thank you so much, Z. So guys, we have covered a total of 18 stocks already, 18 stocks, right? So maybe let's just go one more round. So first of all, guys, our apologies if we cannot cover all the stocks. I looked through the chat messages, more than 60 to 70 stocks. Sorry, guys, if we never cover your stock, doesn't mean that we don't care about you or what. There's still so many, right? So we try to pick the one that a lot of people are asking about, the more popular ones as well. All right, but hopefully you can join us again next Friday. All right, next Friday we'll be back to US, and next Friday we'll be back to Singapore as well. So you can join us again, and then hopefully we can cover your stocks, right? So our apologies if we miss or did not cover your stock. So let me just go into cover very quickly. All right, all the stock that we talk about today, from the beginning all the way to the end. So right at the beginning, I covered the markets, right? The markets. So you're asking about the markets, right? So we covered that right at the beginning. We talked about the S&P 500 index, and of course the Singapore's Straits Times Index, the STI, right? That was pretty much right at the beginning. And the first stock that I covered was SATS, S-A-T-S, SATS Services, right? DBS, Frencken, OCBC, PropNex, UOB that Z covered. So UOB, Z covered the 3 banks already as well, all right? And we covered YZJ Shipbuilding. You want to put this stock on your watch here? I think not too bad. Who is asking about the stock? Not bad. YZJ Shipbuilding, Singtel, Banyan Tree, UMS, Food Empire, China Sunsine, LHN, Raffles Medical, SIA Engineering, Bumitama Agri, Sembcorp Industry, and Z just covered ST Engineering. So I hope these were the stocks that you guys were asking about. We will not cover them again. All right, we'll now just go one more round. 2 more stocks. I will just go through very quickly before, at the end, me and Z will each share with you one stock that we like that you might want to put in your watch list. So, in case we did not call, did not cover your stock, perhaps that could be the bonus stock at the end. So, because we are covering the bonus, so we don't want to cover it again. So, yours might be the bonus stock at the end that we like, right? So, stay all the way to the end if you don't know 1 or 2 stocks that is in our watch list for potentially more upside. All right. So let me move on to very quickly, right? I think Madeline, you're asking about this stock. Let me go to share my screen. And that would be this company called HONGLEONG Asia. HONGLEONG Asia, $1.69. So I think we've been covering this stock for quite a while. I got my team to send out a note as well on WhatsApp to our clients in Philip Securities. You can check our WhatsApp for those of you who are a client of mine in Philip. All right, I believe you would have got a few notes about this stock a couple of months back. All right, maybe a couple of weeks back as well. Why? Well, because we got not one, but we got 2, 3 bullish signals coming out. I think since like May, right? Since 15th of May, we got the 1 GT bullish signal coming out. In fact, previously in December, we got 2 bullish signals. While we got another one in July last year. And there we go. After getting these bullish signals, not 1, 2, but 3 or 4 coming out, you can see that the rally actually happened 40% in about 3 months, right? Let's take a look at recently, right? When we got the bullish signal coming out right over here, all the way to here, 54% in about 2 months plus, all right? 54%. Does it still look good? Well, I think it looks good, right? Because there is, obviously no bearish signal out as of now. All right, if I can draw this horizontal support level, it seems like $1.60 is a horizontal support level for now. And that's also where the upward sloping 20 days moving average line is as well, right? But you can see it kind of like coincides with where the 20 days moving average line is. So if we stay above this green 20 days moving average line plus the horizontal support at 160, not too bad, not too bad. So back to your question, Madeline, can hold or not, right? Well, I would say that hold is can, but don't hold all the way down also. After that, 1 year later, it comes all the way down, you hold all the way down. No, don't want to do that. So you want to hold, but you want to hold with a plan. Does it make sense? All right. So you want to hold with a plan. What do you mean by a plan? Well, a plan would be to take steps to hold while protecting your profit. So in case, right, I'm not saying it will go down, right, but just in case it might even move up higher. It might go to $190, $2, $220, right? Nobody knows. But in case you to go down below a certain level, then you want to take some profit, you want to get out, or I'm not too sure exactly what price you bought, but you want to get out when you see signs of weakness, like if it goes below 160, all right, or maybe I can turn on the trailing support as another confirmation, because this trailing support give its space, right? It follows it, it's been following it since May, and it starts to follow, right? So as long as you stay above the 150, which is where the trailing support is, even better, all right? I think that's where the stock still looks okay because we were still above this volatility space that we give it to breathe. Does it make sense? Right. So if we go below 150, then that's where it might look a bit shaky. Then that's where you would want to take some profit and get out. But other than that, I think it still looks fine. There's no bearish signal. You could still ride and hold, ride even more upside, but have a plan to protect your profits. Does it make sense? All right. So that is for HONGLEONG Asia. Okay, let me pass on the mic to Z, right, to cover the last Singapore stock for today.
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, so I think the last one I'll be covering by Chloe, right? Chloe is actually asking about Centurion. So Centurion is also one of the stocks that has been on Joey's and our team watch list for quite some time, right? And time to time, like what Joey mentioned in terms of the daily WhatsApp broadcast, this stock has also been on our radar, right? So let's take a look at this particular stock, right? Centurion can still hold and any further upside as it did today. So all right, let's take a look at this, right? So in terms of trend, I don't really have to talk much. All of you guys can see that the red, blue, and green, red and blue line, they are all very beautiful. It has been going up and it is an ideal uptrend textbook scenario, right? In terms of the moving average. And we do see, multiple 1GT bullish signal. And the one that we saw here was on the 6th of May, right? And currently there is no exits yet. And let's just take a look at this from here to here. It's about a 45%. Yeah, around here, 45%. Not too bad, right? In over like 3 to 4 months. And right now, today, yes, definitely we are seeing some profit taking returning, right? And we are seeing some the candlestick actually deep lah. All right, and here, right over here at this red color box right over here, I think this was actually one of the stocks that probably we have covered, and I've left it here because why? The thing is that prices is actually approaching the $1.80 resistance, right over here, and there is nothing wrong whereby some people could actually take some profits, right? And we are seeing some profit taking returning, whereby we are seeing that the price action actually came back down and there's some pullback right near this 180 resistance. So there is nothing wrong to actually take some profits if you are actually holding on to this stock for Centurion, right? And one thing that I wanted to highlight to you guys, right, is that for this particular stock, right, as you can see, the support, the horizontal support that I've drawn definitely is at 180, but this stock has not really, in a way, consolidated sideways. As you can see from the very first one, GT bullish signal came out in May, right? It has just went all the way up, right? It didn't really have like much of a sideways consolidation phase yet. So what we can do is also, to make use of this trailing support resistance function. So this function have a lot of use, like just now what we have covered. We can potentially use this to potentially spot some of the potential buy zones, right, near the trading support. We can also use this to guide us with, our stop limit order, to protect profits, to stop loss as well. And right now, we can also use this to kind of like gauge the trend as well, right? Because as you can see, if I turn on, the price, is it above the trading support? Yes, it's still above the trading support, right? It has been trailing the price, right? And price continue move up, this trading support, I mean, of course, it continues to move up, right? And right now, price is actually still holding above the trading support, which is not too bad, right? Which is still okay. So I believe that as long as the price is actually still holding above the trading support for Centurion, right? Not too bad, not too bad. So in terms of Korea, I'm not too sure what is your stop loss plan, right, for this particular counter, but you can potentially set your stop loss slightly below the trading support, right, to protect your downside as well. Because as long as price is still holding above the trading support, I think it is still pretty okay, especially so when we have confirmation in terms of the moving averages as well, right? So if for those of you who are thinking about potentially entering somewhere near the trading support, I think this would also be where you can actually set some price alert, right, to notify you, especially when you want to accumulate on dips, right, accumulate on dips near a support level, the trading support level. This is where you can potentially look at as well. So if prices, were to, come back down, retrace and have some consolidation, that is great, right, before it actually push higher to the next leg up. And where are we looking towards? I think we are looking towards probably about the $2.10 level based on a range that we are projecting upwards. All right. So those are some of the levels that you can take note for Centurion. I think as long as it's still holding above the trading support, it is still pretty decent for this particular counter. All right. So I'll pass the time back over to Joey to start sharing about our bonus stock for today.
All right, thank you so much. Finally, guys, we have covered a total of 20 Singapore stocks today. All right, what you guys have asked. So I hope you guys got value out of this entire session. All right, you get a little bit of an understanding of my one good trend strategy, or how we actually analyze a stock. How do we know when to get in, or maybe when to get out? How do we take steps to protect our profits? The whole entire mindset as well. I hope you have a better idea. But as I say, you're going to find a bit more in terms of the whole strategy. Attend one of those free webinar, or maybe if you want to go ahead to test drive, let me just place in the chat this link, right? If you want to go ahead to test drive what I call my 1GT lights indicator. So what we have been using would be the One Good Trend Pro indicator, whereby I know a little bit more advanced features. You could turn on the trailing support and resistance, a little bit more risk management stuff as well, right? But we actually do have what we call a One Good Trend light indicator, whereby you can test drive it for free. All right, you can do whatever we just did. I mean, just type in the name of the stock, all right, and then and see whether any bullish or bearish signals came out. All right, so if you see a bearish, then you want to be patient and don't go and buy first. Okay, so the link is right in the chat. Test drive my One Good Trend lights indicator for free. Let me just go to just show you the page, right? So that is pretty much where you could kind of like take a test drive, right? Let me just show you this page right over here, right over here, right? So yeah, most incredible free gift ever in the stock market. Test drive my One Good Trend lights indicator. So there's a simpler version. You can just simply turn on the bullish and bearish signals like what we have done and get an opinion in seconds, all right? Knowing when to buy and sell, all right? And this is a page right over here. Plus, you get over $3,997 worth of training just to guide you on exactly how to use it, the whole entire framework as well on how we actually know when to get in and out. All right, so that is the link in the chat. You can come to this page to go to test drive my One Good Trend light indicator for free, right? In terms of just typing in the name of a stock, seeing if there are any bullish or bearish signals like what we've just done. All right, can you guys see yourself doing this? I mean, nothing complicated. Just you need to know the name of the stock. All right, type it in and get a quick opinion. Okay, so let me go ahead, guys, right now to share with you about the bonus stock for today. All right, I think some of you have actually asked about this stock, but I did not cover it just now because it is actually a bonus stock. And this stock is none other than Centurion. The code is 5E2, trading at $2.33. $2.33. So why do I like this stock? Well, before I turn on the indicator to see if there are any bullish or bearish signals, well, you can see that for this stock, we have formed a very key resistance level. So I've been watching this stock for a while. It was actually quite boring last month to May to June, quite boring, right? I was waiting for it to break this very key level. Let me just draw this very key line for you, right? So right over here, it was a very key resistance level, right? We touched it, we came all the way down around $2.15, right? Same thing over here. It became a resistance. We broke through, tested a couple of times as a support. Of course, we broke down and we start going down, all right? And of course, recently, we were back to this same resistance level, the $2.15, right? And we just couldn't get above it for the past like 3-4 months, right? Always touch, come down, right? But one fine day, right, on the 15th of July, Tuesday, right? I think I got my team to send out a note as well. I'm not too sure, but I think you guys should, if you're a client of mine, as I say, guys, if you're a client of mine in Flip Securities, you're probably getting our daily updates and ideas by WhatsApp. So I think I got my team to send out a note on Centurion. I'm not too sure which day around here, all right? And started to push up a little bit more, all right? And I think I'm still quite bullish on it. Why? Because we have got out of this sideways consolidation, a very key psychological resistance that we've been trading below since February, March, for 5 to 6 months below it. Finally, we have broke out of it. The short-term trend, looking at the green 20 days moving average line, was up and it became flat. Very boring, right? Before that, right? But what happens? You can see right now it is starting to turn up, right? So that's where we are seeing what we call an ongoing reversal that is happening. Targets. So I've drawn some targets previously, all the way to I would say $2.60. That would be what we call the previous high that we've hit it to somewhere in February before we sold all the way down. So 260, 240, I think that could be potentially where some profit taking can come back again, right? Now, very quickly, let me go to turn on what we call the One Good Trend Pro indicator in terms of the bullish and bearish signals to share with you guys, hey, why was I even alerted to this stock in the first place, right? Well, you can see right over here, 1, 2, 3, pump. And there we go, right? We got not one, but we got two. So the first bullish signal came out in April. That was where we started to see that beginning phase of the reversal, right? So it reversed up, and then in June, it became boring. But after that, well, just a few days back on the Tuesday, 15th of July, right? Tuesday, we got the new, of course, we sent alerts, so I was alerted to it by an app notification thing, right, on my phone, pop up over here as well, right? So of course, I should know about it. And what happens, right? Well, that's where I started to look at this stock again. Wow, it is starting to happen because finally we are attempting to break this $2.15 resistance that I talked about. Finally, of course, this signal came out as another confirmation. And there we go, right? So I think this signal is still in play right now. In fact, over the past 2 days, we have broken the 220. Now I think 230 or so. Today also going to testing it and going above. Just now I saw it was below 230. Now become above already. You see? Oh, yeah. Wasted. Never buy some more. Never mind. Okay, but now it's 233. So it seems like it's going up a bit more already. All right. So I think targets, as I say, could be from here, right, all the way to 240. Maybe after 240, we break 240. Maybe all the way to $2.60 as well, right? So if I can quickly turn on what we call the One Good Trend Pro indicator in terms of the trailing support and resistance. Let's see, right? You see, it is starting to follow it up. So up, follow up, flat. Now, over the past 3-4 days, you can see the trailing support is starting to follow it. Why? Because it's going up now, so it's following it to move up, but giving it space. So we're still above it. All right. So I think this trailing support is somewhere around $2 and, I think not even 215. I think I would say a support would have came out slightly higher, maybe around 220. All right. And maybe 230 as well, if we can stay above 230 over the next few days as well. All right. So this is Centurion, right? The first bonus stock, like share with you guys. We actually sent out a note to our clients in Philip Securities by WhatsApp. So you've got in great, but I think there could still be more upside momentum, all right, as long as we stay above the 220 or even 230 support level. Okay, so that is my bonus stock. Let me pass on the mic to Z to cover her bonus stock for today.
All right, thanks, Joey. Okay, so let me share with you guys what is my bonus stock for today. Okay, definitely it's not ST Engineering lah, because since I've covered that earlier on. So my bonus stock for today that I would like to share with you guys would be SIA, and I think I saw some of the comments earlier. You guys were asking about SIA, right? But so sorry, you didn't have to. I can't cover that, right? Because we are gonna cover that in our bonus stock right now. Okay, so for SIA, I think this is one of the stocks that has been on quite a number of people's radar as well, because we also have quite a number of clients that was also asking us about this, right? Especially so over the past 1 to 2 months, because we have seen, like, prices for SIA has been going up, right? Has been going up. So let's us take a look at some of the key levels first, right? Before we actually dive right in. Okay, so definitely I think SIA, one of the key levels, right, definitely will be at this, firstly, will be at this $7 mark, right? Because why would I say $7 is one of the key level? Because right over here in June 2023, this was actually the high, right? And since then, prices was unable to break above this $7, which was one of the key resistance, right? Somewhere in February 2024, near it, didn't break above. Here didn't even near it, right? But somewhere in March 2025, buying interest starts to come back. Price near the $7 again, unable to break above, right? But somewhere in May this year, right, we get more interest in this counter again, after the rebound from the Trump tariff, right? Price did break above the $7, right? It did break above the $7. Great, right? But subsequently, unfortunately, the selling pressure probably is too strong, because can you imagine, for those of you who have bought the counter, like, a couple of years back, right? But it has always been testing, cannot break, and it breaks above, and selling pressure came back in to push price back down. I think yeah, that's normal lah. And then we see, unfortunately, price go back below the $7. And just nice, this was during the period, no, this was the period during the Trump tariff, right? And this was where, just nice, we have a 1 GT bearish signal coming out again, right? But eventually, we get buying interest coming back near this 670. Let me just draw a very quick one over here, right? This 670, this level right over here, and price rebounded all the way back up, and we do get to 1 GT bullish signal, right? So I would say the new higher support has been found, right? Where 720, right? Because why? $7 was previously a resistance, turned to become a support, and this 720 over here within the past month from May to June, right? This was actually a resistance, right? This was actually a resistance. Price went up and break above this 720. So we are seeing, buyers are willing to come in and buy at higher prices, because we are actually finding new higher support. Does it make sense? Because from $7, and now we are seeing $7.20, right? And if we take a look at the trend, so just now I was only talking about the support levels and resistance levels. So now we take a look at the trend, which is the moving averages. What do we see? We see that the green, the red, and the blue, they are all pointing up in the same direction. So that's great. So we get a confirmation from the 1GT bullish signal, we get a confirmation from the trend, and we also get a confirmation that, buyers are willing to buy at higher prices, because supports are getting higher as well, right? So the thing is that for those of you who are thinking about, positioning yourself for entry, where should you position yourself for entry, right? That would be definitely none other than near the support zone, right? Like a broken record, like me and Joey always repeat, buying near a potential support zone, right? So where would that support zone be? It would be somewhere close to the new higher support at this $7.20 right over here. But of course, I don't know whether, price will actually come back down for you to buy at this level. So what will be good is that you can actually set price alert, right? Set a price alert. So I'll just do it very quickly right now. Maybe about this $7.23, right? Maybe let me just right click, add alert, 7, maybe let's put 7.23, right? Every time, create. So I've just created very quickly a price alert at $7.23. So if prices were to retrace and pull back, right, back to this $7.23, that's where I can take a look at the stock again and position myself for entry, all right? And right now, price is trading at about $7.41, right? And I would say it's actually testing. It's going to be testing. It seems like it's going to be testing the $7.50 resistance. And this red box over here, right, it is none other than the sell zone, right? The sell zone that we are looking at near a resistance. So if, over the next couple of days, if it price met with resistance near the 750, it is normal, right? It is normal, right? And it will be even better if prices is able to come back down, retrace, and it has actually some sort of consolidation before it push up even higher, right? So that is where we know that, hey, this 720, this level, right, is where the buying pressure actually return, and that is where we actually find new higher supports along the way. If prices were to break this 750, consolidate again, break again, then that is where we know, the buying interest for this counter has really indeed come back to this counter. All right, so that would be for SIA. I hope those are some of the levels that perhaps you might want to take note of, right? Especially of the potential zone to, set some price alert for taking profits, or maybe even to position yourself for entry. All right. So I hope that helps. And with that, I'll pass the time back over to Joey to perhaps maybe close off today's session.
All right, thank you so much, Z. All right, so I think Z have shared a very good one on this stock called SIA. It has been in my watch list for a while. I think it looks pretty good, right? Bullish signals have came out. We have pushed higher, maybe a bit of resistance, but if that gives way, another leg up can happen as well. All right, so yeah, I think pretty much we have come to the end of today's AMAS Ask Me Any Stock Singapore live session. How many of you have got value, right? Got value. I mean, you have learned something. We have covered your stock. This type of V, guys, type V for value. If you've got some value, let us know. Let us know so that, hopefully you guys learn a little bit of things today, all right, in terms of the strategy, in terms of your stock, getting a better idea what to do, to hold, to buy, to sell, when to get in and stuff like that, right? Type V for value, guys. If you've got value, let me know. Energized Mood, good to see you as well. Jared, value. VJ, hi Yung Chao as well, value. Dave, value. Mao, Andy as well. Esther, thank you so much. Alan as well. Vincent, ABC. All right, so value. Kelvin as well, value. Thank you so much, John, Joshua. So yes, guys, I think we have come to the end of today's session, right? To come to the end of today's session. So thank you so much for just being here. For those of you who are already a client of mine in Phillip Securities, thank you so much for your support and trust as well. Really appreciate you just being here to join us as well today. All right, and next Friday, we'll be back to the US market. So as I say, right, every Friday we've been doing it since the beginning of the year, right? Friday, US, Singapore. So today is Singapore. Next Friday, we're back to US. So make sure you join us. If you want to know us about your US stocks next Friday as well. The link is right in the chat. And for those of you, as I said, I think I mentioned just now, if you're not yet a client of mine in Phillip Securities, if you are trading, you have a trading account, you kind of like just log in and buy some stocks on your own, nobody send you anything, no ideas, no video, no WhatsApp, no training, nobody contact you, nobody care about you. All right, I'll just place the link in the chat one more time. Find out how you can become a client of mine in Phillip Securities for free. And that's where you get some of our top ideas for free at absolutely no additional cost. All right, pretty much the same as whatever you pay when you're trading, right? But that's where you get some service at least, right? Some ideas that we share, like many of our clients over here, they have joined us. I think, in fact, many of those stocks that we shared are actually some of those that we WhatsApp out to our clients over the past few weeks, because they have pushed up a little bit higher. So you could have got them these ideas much earlier as well if you are getting this WhatsApp broadcast. Okay, Ken. So the link is right in the chat. And one more thing, guys. So today, me and Z, right, we have been looking at what we call the one good trend strategy, right? My one good trend strategy that I've been using for more than a decade now. We have a tool, right? The one good trend pro indicator. But I think all of you can see yourself, just pretty much turning it on, looking at the bullish and bearish signals, right, in seconds. And if you want to find out a bit more about the strategy, right, well, you could attend one of those free webinars. Let me just go ahead to show you the page, right over here, right? So this is the page over here. All right, and yeah, so click on the link in the chat. Attend one of those free webinars. So the link is right in the chat. Click on it, you come to this page right over here. We have one webinar next Tuesday, 22 July, 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. All right, just enter your name, email, register your spot, and that's what we'll be covering. All right, how to actually filter out the top 1% of stocks. So today you can see that we actually covered your Singapore stocks, right? But the question is that, are these even the top stocks to watch, right? Or are they just some random stocks flying around somewhere that you just pick randomly, right? Well, what happens is that we want to focus on the top 1% of stocks, right? How do we actually screen them out? How do we actually filter them out, sieve them out? All right. So you sieve them out is one thing, but you sieve them out, then you now go and buy, then that's not the right way, but you sieve out the top 1% of stock, and then you know when to buy and sell them. Does it make sense? All right, I think that is where you get the highest probability of winning. And that's exactly what we'll cover in this webinar. All right, that's exactly what we'll cover in this webinar. All right, whereby you pull out the top 1% of stocks, and then you can turn on, all right, the one good trend pro indicator, all right, and be alerted on when to get in and get out on the top 1%. That's where there's a much higher probability of winning. So we share a little bit more on the mindset as well, right? So yes, I think that's it, guys. I think we have come to the end of today's session. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate your time. We look forward to see you in the next AMAS live session next Friday, whereby we cover the US stocks. All right, so anything to add, Z?
I think today it was one of the session with the highest number of people, right? And then I think a lot of comments that you guys are coming in with your stocks. So sorry if we are unable to cover your stocks for today, but I hope to see you guys in our next AMAS for Singapore, be it US or Singapore, but Singapore one, just take note, it's 2 weeks later, all right? I hope to see you guys again, and I hope that we can cover your stocks, okay? Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I say that our apologies, guys. Our apologies. We covered like 20 over stocks, so our apologies if we miss your stocks. It's not intentional. There's just too many. Hopefully, we can cover it the next time. All right. So Joey here, Z here as well, signing off. Take care. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next Friday for our next AMAS Ask Me Any Stocks session. Bye bye. Have a good weekend. Take care. Bye bye. Bye everyone.